Chapter 3911, Chapter 3911. What Jun Linyuan did for you. Chapter 3911. What Jun Linyuan did for you. Feng Sun glanced at Feng Wu and said casually, "You were still being chased." And he blamed himself so much that he couldn't care less about his own injury. Feng Wu was indeed concerned. Frowning, she spun around in circles. Seeing this, Feng Sun smiled a little, but soon suppressed it as if nothing had happened. Jun Linyuan was indeed injured, but he was a miracle worker, and was recovering rapidly. Feng Sun had made it sound more serious, so that his silly sister would feel guilty. How long had it been since they last saw each other? They still hadn't expressed their feelings for each other yet. If Feng Sun had been the man, their son would have been running around by now. So, he was going to be the perfect assistant. Frustrated, Feng Wu mumbled, "Why is he like this? Why won't he listen to me?" Crossing his arms, Feng Sun darted a look at Feng Wu. "Because he's in love. With someone." Feng Wu glared at him. "That's enough." Feng Sun went on talking to himself. Poor Boss Jun. His internal injury is so severe that his face is ghastly pale. His thin lips are almost white, but he's still chasing those people. Gosh. Feng Wu stared at Feng Sun. "I want to see him. I want to see him now." Feng Sun's stomach lurched. His plan worked. Unfortunately. He sighed. "Forget about it. I don't think anyone can find him now. I wonder if he'll pass out in the middle of nowhere." Feng Wu pictured Jun Linyuan walking alone in the woods with a hand on his chest before passing out. She was so anxious. Just then, Feng Sun glanced at her. "You're worried, aren't you? You miss him, don't you? You're worried about him." Feng Wu threw a dirty look at Feng Sun, but she didn't try to deny it this time. Feng Sun chuckled inwardly. See, he had made some progress. The imperial capital wasn't built in a day. As long as the two of them made some progress, everything would be fine. "He'll be here tomorrow, right?" Feng Wu stared at Feng Sun. Feng Sun said seriously, "Boss Jun values his promises above all else. Look, he said he would protect you, and he meant it. He said he was going to have a competition tomorrow, and I'm sure he'll come, even if he's sick." Feng Wu snapped at Feng Sun. "Stop nagging. I know that." Feng Sun rubbed Feng Wu's head. "You know, give him a reply then. He's been working so hard to follow you around. He's Jun Linyuan, the one who can shake the world with a stomp of his foot." Feng Wu didn't say anything, but she didn't retort Feng Sun, which meant that she agreed with him. That night, Feng Wu tossed and turned but couldn't fall asleep. She couldn't fall asleep. All she could think of was Jun Linyuan passing out from his internal injury. How could Feng Sun put that picture in her head? Feng Wu sat up in bed and took out the arm of discipline. Didn't Feng Sun say that Jun Linyuan's Sky Destroyer was damaged? Since she couldn't repair it for him now, she might as well modify the arm and make it more suitable for Jun Linyuan. At that thought, Feng Wu went to the refinery room that very night. No one but Feng Wu could enter the Patriarch's refinery room. No one knew what modifications Feng Wu had made. Feng Wu was the only one who knew how much divine phoenix blood she had used to nourish the arm. Chapter 3912, Chapter 3912. The Battle Won. Chapter 3912, The Battle Won. Where's Xiaowu? Feng Sun went to look for Feng Wu early in the morning, but realized that he couldn't find her anywhere. He grew anxious. In the end, the giant eagle took him to the refinery room and told him that Feng Wu was inside. Thump, thump, thump. Feng Sun pounded on the door. Feng Sun's heart went out to Feng Wu when he saw her face. Her beautiful face was drained of all color, and her bright eyes were bloodshot red. What's wrong? What happened? It had only been one night. Why did his sister look like she had lost a lot of blood? Feng Wu sneezed. Feng Sun threw a robe over her shoulders. Why did you catch a cold? Where did you go last night? Feng Wu waved her hand. She didn't want to talk about it. Instead, she asked, "Didn't you say that the battle was today?" "That's right," Feng Sun said in a hurry. "That's why I'm here. The battle is about to start." "No, it probably has already started. But you're..." Feng Wu waved him off. "I'm fine. I have to go." Otherwise, why did she work so hard last night? Seeing how persistent Feng Wu was, Feng Sun nodded. All right. But if you don't feel well, just let me know. Feng Wu nodded. They walked out of the tower to find Huyanichin waiting for them. Huyanichin ran up to them. I knew you were going, so I've prepared a carriage. Let's go. He patted the carriage next to him as he spoke. Iron Tower was driving the carriage. Feng Wu nodded at him, said thank you, and got into the carriage first. Feng Sun followed her in and sat down. As a matter of fact, the Zhengwu Empire had an official residence in northern Yan, and Feng Sun had already contacted them. Now that Huyanichin was around, Feng Sun didn't need an official residence anymore. The battle between Jun Linyuan and Gui Tsulai wasn't taking place in the arena. Their battle was going to take place at the top of northern Yan. The tallest building in northern Yan wasn't the royal palace, but the royal temple. So they're going to the royal temple? Feng Wu cried out. Doesn't your king mind it? Huyanichin smiled bitterly. His Majesty would love to do something. But one of them is the most capable cultivator of northern Yan, and the other one is the most powerful cultivator of the Zhengwu Empire. I don't think he'll be able to stop them. The only one that can do anything about it is our patriarch. Not only didn't he do anything, but he even chuckled. Feng Wu asked, what did he say? Huyanichin said. The patriarch was glad to hear that. Since he said so, what more can his Majesty say? Soon, their carriage was 300 m away from the temple. The temple was surrounded by soldiers, and the roads were heavily guarded. It wasn't easy for ordinary people to get in, and even Huyanichin was almost stopped. People could still see the battle beyond that range. They just couldn't see it up close. Meanwhile, a lot of commoners had been stopped outside as well, and they were there because they had all heard the news. There were at least tens of thousands of them. Huyanichin, what are you doing here? Feng Wu recognized the voice right away. Chapter 39:13, Chapter 39:13, The Battle 2. Chapter 39:13, The Battle 2. Princess Raoshi. Enemies were bound to meet. Huyanichin's face darkened. He had always considered Princess Raoshi his enemy, but she didn't think much of him. At that thought, Huyanichin clenched his fists in frustration. Wait! Seeing Feng Sun next to Huyanichin, Princess Raoshi was a little surprised. They both came from noble families, and had met before at social events. So Princess Raoshi recognized Feng Sun when she walked past him. Are you Feng Nun? She stared at Feng Sun with twinkling eyes. She had searched high and low for Jun Linyuan, only to find his best friend here. The two of them were very close. As long as she had Feng Sun, she would know where Jun Linyuan was. Therefore, as soon as she saw Feng Sun, she fought back her urge to give Huyanichin a condescending smile, and behaved appropriately. Feng Sun recognized her as well. So it's Princess Raoshi. Feng Sun drew out the last syllable. He thought to himself, so, Princess Raoshi is the one who's been trying to kill Xiao Wu. What a day. Feng Sun was very good at holding grudges. He had memorized Princess Raoshi's face, and decided that he would soon take his revenge. Princess Raoshi told the officer who stopped their carriage who Feng Sun was. He was a member of the royal family of the Zhengwu Empire, but the general still wouldn't let Feng Sun in. Princess Raoshi's face darkened, and she said in a threatening tone, Are you going to defy me now? The general said he wouldn't dare. Just then, someone announced the arrival of the eldest prince. The prince's carriage slowly arrived. Seeing what was going on, the prince's servant, Quan Shi, asked the question on his master's behalf. The prince smiled. They're all honored guests I've invited. Please let them pass. Then, Princess Raoshi saw that the general really followed the prince's order. No, Princess Raoshi felt as if she had been slapped. Before, other people would only respect her more than the prince. But why wouldn't they listen to him now but not her? Princess. Seeing that Raoshi was gripping her whip, Saixia was worried that she would hit the general, so she reminded Raoshi in a low voice. Princess? Princess? Princess Raoshi took a deep breath to fight back her resentment. She knew what was going on, what happened in the palace the day before. Many people had seen it when Feng Wu slapped her in the face. although the queen had warned them not to tell anyone else. The Drin's men were there as well, and they would spread the news as fast as they could. So they all knew how humiliated she had been. At that thought, Princess Raushi was even angrier. What she didn't know was that the king was a decisive man. Since he had deprived Princess Raushi of her right to inherit the throne, he wouldn't let her mislead other people anymore. It wouldn't be a big deal if other people misunderstood, but it would be a disaster if the patriarch was misled. Therefore, the king summoned all 7 officials last night to discuss the matter. Naturally, the officials wanted the prince to be the next king, not the princess. Chapter 39:14. Chapter 39:14. It began 1. Chapter 39:14. It began 1. Hence, the officials didn't argue with one another. For once they agreed on the suggestion, and it was settled. The general was the second son of the minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel. Therefore, he knew that Princess Raushi was no longer the candidate for the throne, so he didn't try to save her dignity. It was just that Raushi herself didn't think that other people would know about it so soon. The prince invited Feng Wu and the others to his private room. That was right. A lot of private rooms had been built here in a matter of days. The prince's was on the east wing, and Princess Raushi's was on the west. That one detail could tell the difference between the two. The Northern Yan Kingdom valued the east above all else. Who made the seat arrangement? Seeing that she was in the west, Princess Raushi was infuriated. No one dared to reply. Get out! Princess Raushi had no choice but to vent her anger on her servants. Saixia, her senior maid, was whipped. The prince asked Feng Wu to sit next to him, but she declined. The prince grew anxious. We have the best view, and can see everything from here. Was that so? Feng Wu was still hesitating when Feng Sun rushed over and sat down next to the prince. The prince stared at Feng Sun. However, Feng Sun patted the empty seat next to him and told Feng Wu, Xiao Wu, come here. Sit with me. Just then, a figure flew toward them. The person stopped at the top of the temple and was hundreds of meters above the ground. Feng Wu had thought that it was Jun Linyuan and was so excited that she thought her heart was going to jump out of her mouth. As it turned out, it was Gui Tsulai. She was disappointed. Feng Sun comforted her. Gui Tsulai is here. I'm sure Boss Jun will be right behind him. Xiao Wu, sit down. Feng Wu nodded and sat down next to Feng Sun. Sni Honorung Nun were sitting amtini, same row so Tnat Jun Linyuan would be able to spot her easily. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Huyanichin sat down on Feng Wu's right. The 4 of them sat in a row. Feng Wu kept her gaze on the sky, waiting for Jun Linyuan to arrive. Time ticked by. 15 minutes passed. 30 minutes passed. 45 minutes. Many grew impatient and began to discuss among themselves. Isn't Jun Linyuan supposed to be fighting Gui Tsulai? Why isn't he here yet? Is Jun Linyuan too scared to come? Normally, he shouldn't be late for a duel between 2 top cultivators. I think he's really scared. I thought he was someone that could shock the world with the stomp of his foot, but as it turned out, he's nothing much. The audience was displeased. The voices were like mosquitoes buzzing in Feng Wu's ears. Feng Wu's face darkened. Although she had been complaining about Jun Linyuan as well, finding him too stubborn and overbearing, she was the only one who could say such things about Jun Linyuan. Who were these people to say anything about him? Just then someone next to Princess Raushi spoke. He was Princess Raushi's younger brother, the 3rd prince of the kingdom. As he nibbled on the fruit, he crossed his legs and said unhurriedly, I think that Jun Linyuan was only bluffing. As a matter of fact. Chapter 39:15. Chapter 39:15. It began too. Chapter 39:15. It began too. As a matter of fact, he's just fishing for fame. The 3rd prince smirked. Sister, I'm telling you, if he stands in front of me, even I can defeat him. Believe it or not. Feng Wu flared up. Jun Linyuan was the most superior man in the empire, and she wouldn't stand such filthy words from the 3rd prince. Before Princess Raushi could scold him, the 3rd prince went on. Sister, look at Jun Linyuan. He's not young anymore. But he hasn't gotten married yet. I think he's just. Before Princess Raoshi could react, Feng Wu dashed off like a gust of wind. She slapped the third prince away. Poor prince. He was in his seat when he said those words, and had put his leg on the table. But Feng Wu had slapped him away. He flew into the air before falling to the ground. He was dumbfounded as he stared at Feng Wu. Princess Raoshi was the first to react. Feng Wu, you. She glared at Feng Wu. Have you lost your mind? How dare you hit him? Do you know who he is? Feng Wu smirked. I've hit him already, and you're asking me how dare I do that? Princess Raoshi was astonished. By then, the third prince finally realized what had happened. He burst into tears and ran toward Princess Raoshi. Naturally, their guards wouldn't let that happen. However, most of them had been there the day before, and had seen with their own eyes how well the king treated Feng Wu. Princess Raoshi offended Feng Wu the day before, and was forced to kneel and apologize. Therefore, they didn't dare to do anything to Feng Wu now that she was scolding the third prince. Those who hadn't experienced what happened the day before came out. Such as this Captain Xia. What's going on? What happened? Captain Xia was on Princess Raoshi's side. He was one of the 7 generals, and his job was to maintain order in the arena. That was to say, he was the most influential official here. He led a team of soldiers in soft armor, and each of them had a saber hanging on their waists. They were ready to draw out their sabers at any moment. Instantly, things became intense. The third prince rushed over and pointed at Feng Wu. Captain Xia, take her down. Kill her. Captain Xia looked at the third prince and saw that one side of his face was swollen. It was a ghastly sight. Captain Xia stared at Feng Wu and narrowed his eyes. Guards. With a wave of his hand, Captain Xia was going to have Feng Wu arrested and killed. Meanwhile, Feng Sun and the eldest prince arrived at Feng Wu's side. Feng Sun shielded Feng Wu, for he still didn't know how important Feng Wu was to the king. Huyanyichen smirked. The third prince was such a troublemaker. He had messed with someone he shouldn't have. Just then the third prince said, How dare you hit me? But you're quite pretty. He told Captain Xia. Don't kill her yet. Cripple her cultivation and tie her up. Chapter 39:16. Chapter 39:16. It began 3. Chapter 39:16. It began 3. The third prince told Captain Xia. Don't kill her yet. Cripple her cultivation ability and tie her up. I'll teach her a lesson. As a man, Captain Xia took the hint right away. However, she deserved what she got for hitting the third prince. Hence, with a wave of his hand, Captain Xia said, Take her. However, before he could finish, the eldest prince's cold voice rang out. Captain Xia doesn't know what he's doing. Raoshi is, shouldn't you know better? Princess Raoshi was filled with hatred. Captain Xia, on the other hand, paused and looked at the eldest prince in bewilderment. The eldest prince frowned and stared at Princess Raoshi. How well did our father treat Xiao Wu yesterday? When you offended her, you had to kneel and apologize. You. Princess Raoshi threw a dirty look at the crown prince before turning to Captain Xia. Stop. Meanwhile, Captain Xia was utterly shaken. What did he just hear? The princess had knelt and apologized. Captain Xia looked at Princess Raoshi in bewilderment. Meanwhile, Princess Raoshi felt a burning sensation on her face. She had thought. She was furious. But the third prince wouldn't have it. He glared at the eldest prince, then at Princess Raoshi. Sister, why did you stop? Why? She's mine. I want her. That was getting out of hand. Princess Raoshi recalled what the 7th princess said about how the king fancied Feng Wu. Shut up. Go back to the palace, if you don't want to watch the battle. Princess Raoshi glared at the third prince. Meanwhile, the noise attracted a lot of attention. After all, more and more people were getting wind of the battle, and the royal family was creating a commotion. Everyone liked a bit of gossip, and the people of the Northern Yan Kingdom were no exception. Hence, a lot of people stuck their heads out and discussed among themselves. Hearing all the noises, Princess Raoshi was furious. She glared at the third prince. Meanwhile, the third prince was still glaring at her. Why? Why? I'm the one getting hit. Why am I the one getting yelled at now? He couldn't understand it. As the third son of the king, he had always been doted on. Because he wouldn't inherit the throne, he had always been able to do whatever he wanted, be it robbing or bullying. Growing up, he had done all sorts of evil things. When he got into trouble, his sister would clean up after him. Hence, he had never felt wronged. Taking a deep breath, Princess Rashi told the guards behind her, "Take His Royal Highness back." The third prince stomped his foot. "I'm not leaving. I won't." Seeing that he had gone out of control, Princess Rashi felt sorry for him as well. She said in resignation, "If you promise that you won't make any trouble, you can stay." "All right. I won't make any trouble. I promise." The third prince promised as he threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. He had indeed been defeated once, but when he figured out what was going on, "Just wait and see," Princess Rashi said to Captain Xia. "There's nothing else here. Captain Xia, please go back to your patrol." Captain Xia took his leave and led the team away, but he had a lot of questions on his mind. He saw with his own eyes that the girl addressed as Xiao Wu by the eldest prince had slapped the third prince away. The prince fell to the ground with a thump and almost broke his neck. And Princess Rashi, if the eldest prince hadn't intervened, would she just watch as I offended Miss Xiao Wu? Chapter 39:17. Chapter 39:17. It began for. Chapter 39:17. It began for. Even the princess revered the girl called Xiao Wu, but she had let the captain offend the girl instead. At that thought, Captain Xia, who had been loyal to Princess Rashi, felt even more disappointed. On the other hand, the crown prince was a nice guy, he thought to himself. Meanwhile, Princess Rashi turned from Captain Xia to Feng Wu. "Are you satisfied now?" Feng Wu didn't even look at Princess Rashi. She only stared at the third prince. The third prince glared at Feng Wu as well. However, he was soon defeated by Feng Wu's cold gaze, and was a little scared. He took a step back, and almost hid behind Princess Rashi. Feng Wu stared at him. "Apologize." "Apologize for what?" Princess Rashi glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smirked. "If he doesn't apologize, fine. I'll keep slapping him." What a statement. Princess Rashi was the one who had been so arrogant before. She gritted her teeth and glared at Feng Wu. However, Feng Wu wouldn't give in. She stared at the third prince and said, "Apologize." The third prince gritted his teeth. "What if I don't?" Feng Wu said, "I'll hit you then." Their conversation might sound childish, like a quarrel between two kids, but no one dared to take it lightly because one was Feng Wu, the emperor's favorite, and the other was the third prince of the kingdom. Even Gui Tsulai couldn't help but glance at Feng Wu. He recognized Feng Wu. Wasn't she the beautiful girl who stood next to the patriarch? Had someone picked on her now? Gui Tsulai narrowed his eyes and wondered if he should help her. Meanwhile, Princess Rashi could sense all the eyes on her. She gritted her teeth and stared at Feng Wu. "That's enough." Feng Wu shook her head. "It won't end until he apologizes." Princess Rashi warned Feng Wu in a low voice. Feng Wu. Feng Wu couldn't be bothered to talk to Princess Rashi anymore. She only stared at the third prince and said, "If you don't want to apologize, I'll beat you until you do." After that, Feng Wu grabbed the third prince by his collar and picked him up. Everyone was watching. Princess Rashi was angry and anxious. She was angry at Feng Wu for being so aggressive, and she was worried that she would lose all her authority. Shocked by Feng Wu's intimidating tone, the third prince panicked a little as well. Involuntarily, he turned to Princess Rashi. "Sister, help." Gritting her teeth, Princess Rashi took a deep breath and said to the third prince, "Apologize." The third prince was about to turn her down when Princess Rashi slapped him. "Apologize. Can't you hear me?" The third prince was dumbfounded. His sister had hit him. Feng Wu stared at him. The third prince could only mumble a few words in Feng Wu's direction. Feng Wu smirked. "I can't hear you." The third prince gritted his teeth. "You're pushing it." Feng Wu asked, "What did you say?" The third prince took a deep breath. "I'm sorry." Feng Wu glanced at him. "Who are you apologizing to?" The third prince said, "I'm sorry." Feng Wu pointed east in the direction of the Zhenhua Empire. She snorted. You've slandered Jun Linyuan. Kneel in that direction and apologize to him. Jun Linyuan stood behind Feng Wu and watched her in silence. Chapter 39:18 Chapter 39:18 It began 5. Chapter 39:18 It began 5. The third prince was furious. As the third prince, he had never been humiliated like this before. All he did was talk about Jun Linyuan. He had scolded, beaten, and killed a lot of people. But now, he was being forced to. No. Although the third prince was screaming in his head, when he saw that his sister wouldn't help him, and that Feng Wu was going to hit him at any moment, he had no choice but to sway a little. He then looked back at his sister with much difficulty. Princess Raoshi nodded at him. The third prince was really in tears. Under pressure, he had to kneel to the east and apologize according to Feng Wu's instructions. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said bad things about Jun Linyuan. The third prince burst into tears. Princess Raoshi threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. Are you satisfied now? Feng Wu glanced at the third prince. Say it again, and I'll beat you up every time I see you. After that, Feng Wu raised her hand. Frightened, the third prince hid behind Princess Raoshi. Come, sit down. Feng Wu was about to lead Feng Sun back to their seats, but she froze when she turned around. She saw someone. Someone who would show up in her dreams all the time, and pick on her all the time. Feng Wu stared at the familiar face in bewilderment. He was tall, handsome, and extraordinary. He was the most talented teenager in the empire. He stared at her with his brooding black eyes. Feng Wu could feel her heart thumping. After a long parting, she wanted to ask softly, I hope you're all right. How's your injury? However, those words were stuck in her throat, and she couldn't utter a word. Jun Linyuan kept his unblinking gaze on Feng Wu, and there was a greedy look in his eyes. His girl was all right. Just then Princess Raoshi realized something. His Royal Highness, she cried out. That immediately interrupted the intimate atmosphere. The frozen world seemed to start moving again. In her excitement, Princess Raoshi failed to notice the interaction between Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan. Lifting her skirt, she quickly walked up to Jun Linyuan and greeted him with a bow. Your Royal Highness. The Crown Prince frowned and glanced at Princess Raoshi. Princess Raoshi froze and didn't dare to move. How scary those eyes were. Compared to a few years ago, he was much more handsome and unapproachable. However, Princess Raoshi thought to herself, he's always like this. It doesn't matter. Just then, Feng Wu came back to herself and ran up to Jun Linyuan, tugging at his sleeve. Seeing Feng Wu's hand, Princess Raoshi was furious. How dare she? Jun Linyuan was going to cut her hand off. However, the next second, Jun Linyuan turned his gentle gaze on Feng Wu, and the look in his eyes was so tender that it reminded one of a clear pool. Yes, the Crown Prince asked in a gentle voice. Chapter 39:19 Chapter 39:19 It began 6. Chapter 39:19 It began 6. Jun Linyuan's voice exploded in Princess Raoshi's head. No, it couldn't be. She couldn't believe her eyes. Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu. As a matter of fact, Princess Raoshi had heard about Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu before, but her source told her that Jun Linyuan didn't like Feng Wu. Not only didn't he like her, he even found her repulsive. How did this happen? Were they acting in front of everyone? Under Jun Linyuan's intense gaze, Feng Wu felt her cheeks burning. She patted Jun Linyuan on the chest. Are you all right now? Jun Linyuan only stared at her with brooding eyes. Feng Wu smacked him again and asked grumpily, I'm asking you a question. Have you recovered? Only then did the Crown Prince realize what she was asking. He straightened his back and said, I'm fine. However, Feng Wu could feel the bandages on him through his clothes and she frowned. Are you still not recovered? Just then, someone looked in their direction from the top of the temple. It was Gui Tsulai. Feng Wu regretted her decision. She shouldn't have let Gui Tsulai take the sword, but Jun Linyuan's injury. Frustrated, Feng Wu took out the arm of discipline from behind her and handed it to Jun Linyuan. Put it on. The crown prince was confused. What? Fengwu said. Give me your hand. The crown prince did as he was told. The others were all amazed. Huyanichin watched as the pretty couple talked, and saw that Jun Linyuan would do whatever Fengwu told him to. He couldn't believe it. Back then, the arrogant and aloof genius Jun Linyuan had always stuck out his chin and wouldn't listen to anyone. He was always on his own. But now, he would answer all Fengwu's questions and reach out his hand as if he were her little brother. How was that even possible? Was he still the Jun Linyuan everybody knew? And Huyanichin wasn't the only one who thought that way. The eldest prince was astonished as well. Although he knew that Fengwu and Jun Linyuan seemed to be engaged, he didn't expect them to interact like this. It was so. Princess Raoshi's nails dug into her palms. However, the handsome couple had no idea how they had shocked the others. Holding the arm of discipline, Fengwu stared at Jun Linyuan and tried to negotiate. How about we postpone the battle? Jun Linyuan smiled at her and shook his head. I knew it. Fengwu thought to herself. Jun Linyuan might seem obedient now, but he was actually a stubborn kid. He wouldn't change his principles. Fengwu said grumpily. Put on the arm then. You're not doing well because you've been injured. I heard that the Sky Destroyer has been damaged as well. Jun Linyuan said proudly. I can win. Fengwu snorted and stomped her foot in frustration. Not only did Gui Tsulai become a little more capable than last time, but he also got the Heaven Demon Sword. I regret it so much. I should never have given it to him. This was the first time that Jun Linyuan had heard about it. The Heaven Demon Sword. Fengwu nodded. Patriarch Huyan made the best sword for Gui Tsulai. It suits him very well. Jun Linyuan nodded. Fengwu knew it. Jun Linyuan had never been intimidated. All he ever did was face the challenge head-on. No matter how hard it was, no matter how tired he was, he still had to face the challenge. Chapter 39:20, Chapter 39:20, The Duel 1. Chapter 39:20, The Duel 1. Fengwu watched as Jun Linyuan rose to the sky. Jun Linyuan wore a black robe with the lower hems flapping in the wind. He looked as handsome as a god. Just then, a pair of venomous eyes stared at Fengwu. The gaze was so cold that Fengwu thought she was going to have goosebumps. Fengwu turned around and wasn't surprised to see the furious look in Princess Raoshi's eyes. You! Princess Raoshi pointed at Fengwu and gritted her teeth. What's that supposed to mean? Fengwu was perplexed. Princess Raoshi stepped forward and stared at Fengwu. What's your relationship with His Royal Highness? So that was why. It's a long story then, said Fengwu. Princess Raoshi thought that Fengwu was going to continue, but after that, Fengwu only stared at the sky and ignored her. How dare she ignore her like this? Princess Raoshi knew that Fengwu was doing it on purpose. She told herself to control her temper. Princess Raoshi forced herself to control her emotions. She only calmed down after 5 minutes. Fengwu. Princess Raoshi sounded much calmer this time. Tell me the truth. Aren't you and His Royal Highness annulled the engagement? Shouldn't you be archenemies? Fengwu glanced at Princess Raoshi in bewilderment. Princess Raoshi asked, Am I wrong? Fengwu asked, Where did you get that information? Princess Raoshi said, I can't tell you. Fengwu chuckled. The Hua family. Princess Raoshi didn't say another word. Fengwu looked at Princess Raoshi and shook her head. I used to think that you were quite capable, but it seems that there's only one word for you. What's that? The third prince asked curiously. Stupid. Fengwu waved Princess Raoshi off. She didn't have time to talk to this woman. She was watching the battle in midair. The battle between the two swordsmen would change at any moment, and Fengwu didn't want to be distracted. However, her casual tone almost gave Princess Raoshi a heart attack. Fengwu, I'm only talking to you out of kindness, but you're insulting me. Just because my father dotes on you doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Princess Raoshi was furious as well. In that split second, Princess Raoshi suddenly realized something very important. Wait, Fengwu and Jun Linyuan. If the two of them were in love, then what about her father? Wasn't her father so obedient, because Feng Wu was so pretty, that he wanted to make her his concubine? If he knew that Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan had done such an intimate thing in front of everyone. At that thought, Princess Raoshi was so excited that her face turned scarlet red. She now knew how to get rid of Feng Wu. Feng Wu gave Princess Raoshi a strange look. There was something strange about the princess. The look in her eyes was so crazy that she looked like she was going to blow Feng Wu up. What did she want? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes and stared coldly at Princess Raoshi. By then, Feng Sun also realized that something wasn't right with Princess Raoshi. Taking Feng Wu's hand, he said, "Come, let's go back to our seats and watch the battle. Don't waste your time on irrelevant people." Feng Sun recalled what Jun Linyuan was like earlier. Chapter 39:21, Chapter 39:21, The Duel 2. Chapter 39:21, The Duel 2. Jun Linyuan used to be covered in blood. Feng Sun had no idea what would happen now that Gui Tsulai had become even more capable and had enhanced his equipment. As a matter of fact, Feng Sun was worried sick. Feng Wu nodded at Feng Sun and went back to her seat, although she wondered what Princess Raoshi was up to. However, Feng Wu soon forgot about it and focused on the battle above. Princess Raoshi stared at Feng Wu for a few seconds before looking away. She then whispered something in the third prince's ear. The third prince was reluctant at first. "I'm watching the battle." However, Princess Raoshi whispered something in the third prince's ear again. In the end, she told him, "If you can do this, Feng Wu's reputation will be ruined, and the humiliation you've suffered." The third prince's eyes lit up. "All right, I'm on it." The third prince ran as fast as he could, heading for the palace. Meanwhile, Princess Raoshi threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. "Just wait and see." Up in the sky, the battle between Jun Linyuan and Gui Tsulai was fierce. The blade glinted. The sword intent swept across the air, and the shockwave seemed to create tidal waves. Their swords were like swimming dragons. It was a world of swords. "Oh God!" Just then Feng Wu cried out. Feng Wu wasn't the only one. Many people cried out in surprise as well, for one of the two men had been stabbed. Jun Linyuan wore a black robe, while Gui Tsulai wore a straw hat and linen clothes. Gui Tsulai was aiming at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan dodged to the side, but the blade slid across his stomach. A drop of blood fell to the ground. Feng Wu rose to her feet, looking even more anxious. Feng Sun was equally anxious. "I told you already. He's injured." Judging by the current situation, Jun Linyuan was at a disadvantage, while Gui Tsulai was winning. Gui Tsulai's strike was aimed at Boss Jun's wound. Feng Sun turned to Feng Wu. Feng Wu frowned. "Isn't it on his chest? Didn't she hit the bandage on Jun Linyuan's chest when she punched him?" However, Feng Sun said with a long face, "His chest is indeed injured, but the bigger one is on his abdomen. It's been cut all the way from his left armpit to his lower right abdomen. It's such a long gash." Feng Wu stared at Feng Sun. Feng Sun nodded. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Seeing how unperturbed Gui Tsulai was, Feng Wu wanted to snap his sword in half. What Feng Wu didn't know was, Thu weren't the NNLV ones watching. The Dongseng Kingdom. Night Owl sat on a chair with a pale face and coughed violently. There was a giant curtain of water in front of him, through which Night Owl could see everything that was going on in the battle. Mr. Sakiya sat on Night Owl's right. On the left was the capable guard that the king of Dongsan had just given Night Owl. The man was known as Xiao, and he was probably second only to Jun Linyuan in his capability. Night Owl had been staring at Jun Linyuan ever since the battle started, wishing that he could cut Jun Linyuan into pieces and skin him alive. Because he had lost the battle against Jun Linyuan. He hadn't lost to Jun Linyuan, but to that teenage girl who came out of nowhere. Chapter 39:22, Chapter 39:22, The Duel 3. Chapter 39:22, The Duel 3. Night Owl had predicted everything except for Feng Wu. At the thought of the immortal spiritual fruit Feng Wu stole, Night Owl took a deep breath and didn't say another word. Strangely enough, he didn't hate Feng Wu. Instead, he was intrigued by her. But he hated Jun Linyuan. He kept his unblinking gaze on the water screen because Sakia glanced at Night Owl and sighed inwardly. He knew that it was because the Crown Prince wanted something. Night Owl wanted nothing more than for Jun Linyuan to lose to Gui Tsulai. Sakia shook his head inwardly. His Royal Highness's request wasn't righteous. A truly capable cultivator should think of a way to defeat their competitors on their own, not asking for help. Jun Linyuan had always defeated his enemies on his own, not by relying on other people. That alone put Night Owl at a disadvantage. Mr. Sakia was about to say something when Night Owl coughed violently. Cough cough. Seeing that Night Owl was about to cough his lungs out, Mr. Sakia felt sorry for him. After everything Sakia had done to keep Night Owl alive, he decided that he wouldn't make life harder for Night Owl. Just then Night Owl laughed. Wuxia looked up and saw Gui Tsulai cut Jun Linyuan in the stomach. He frowned a little. When he turned to look at Night Owl again, Night Owl said coldly, "Sir, what's that look on your face? Am I not allowed to laugh?" Mr. Sakia remained unperturbed. Night Owl pointed at the water curtain and said to Sakia, "I want Jun Linyuan to lose. It'll be great if he can die there." Mr. Sakia couldn't stand it anymore and looked very disappointed. Night Owl was acute enough to see the disappointment in Mr. Sakia's eyes. He even knew why. He stared at Wuxia Sakia and said coldly, "Sir, do you think I'm wrong?" Sakia shook his head. "No, I'm not disappointed." Instead, he was filled with despair. Night Owl didn't see the look of despair in Sakia's eyes. He only stared at the water curtain, waiting for Jun Linyuan's defeat or even death. "Are the three capable men all in Northern Yen?" Night Owl suddenly asked. Mr. Sakia didn't say anything. Instead, Xiao, the capable man behind Night Owl, crossed his arms and nodded. Night Owl suddenly asked Xiao, "What's your level now?" Xiao said indifferently, "Even if I'm not as good as Jun Linyuan, I'm 2 levels below him at most." That was to say, the two of them were about the same cultivation level. "Good." Night Owl waved his hand and gave Xiao an order. "You're leaving for the Northern Yin Kingdom now." Mr. Sakia frowned. "Your Royal Highness." However, Night Owl didn't even look at Mr. Sakia. He only stared at Xiao. "Go to Northern Yin now. Jun Linyuan is fighting Gui Tsulai. If he survives the battle, he won't be very capable either. Kill him." Chapter 39-23. Chapter 39-23. The Duel 4. Chapter 39-23. The Duel 4. Xiao cupped his fists. "Yes." Night Owl grinned. "Remember, let him die in the Northern Yin Kingdom." Xiao left after cupping fists. Meanwhile, Mr. Sakia frowned at Night Owl. Night Owl gave Mr. Sakia a sidelong glance. "What? Do you think I'm despicable?" Mr. Sakia shook his head. He was only confused. 3 top cultivators of the same level are already waiting to take their revenge on Jun Linyuan. "Your Royal Highness, why? Why was he so unconfident?" "Just in case," Night Owl said without hesitation. "Not only is Jun Linyuan capable, but you also know how lucky he is. What if he narrowly escaped death again? I'm sure you know that if Jun Linyuan dies, the Dongseng Kingdom will rule the world. We must kill him at all costs." Mr. Sakia suddenly asked, "Has it never occurred to your Royal Highness that you should defeat him on your own?" Night Owl chuckled. "Sir, I'm the Crown Prince, and I'm too precious to lose." Sakia thought, Jun Linyuan is the Crown Prince as well, and he's all about self-improvement. He's used his own sword to fight the world, but you, Night Owl, are nothing compared to him. His Crown Prince was nothing compared to Jun Linyuan. Sakia sat there in disappointment. Night Owl was right. Right now, 3 powerful cultivators were waiting in Northern Yen in a tea house a short distance away from the temple. They each wore a bamboo hat, and the others didn't know who they were. But if Jun Linyuan were here, he would recognize them right away. To be more precise, he had defeated all 3 of them before. The old master of the Zhou family in Jingyang City, the matriarch of the Flower Valley, and the master of the Firmament Palace. Jun Linyuan vented his anger on both the Zhou family and the matriarch of Flower Valley for hunting Feng Wu. He beat the crap out of them before he left. Why didn't he kill them? Killing a spiritual saint would result in a lightning tribulation. The more one killed, the more lightning tribulation they would accumulate, and the breakthrough would become very problematic. Especially someone as capable as Jun Linyuan, who had to withstand a lot of lightning to begin with. Doubling it would be too much even for him. Jun Linyuan had to live and protect the person he cared about. He couldn't die. Therefore, Jun Linyuan gave them a chance to turn over a new leaf. But showing mercy this time had left him with some hidden danger. The old matriarch of the Firmament Palace opened her eyes. Before, she could stop Jun Linyuan from killing Zhou Qingwan with a single punch, but now, the old woman had opened her eyes. But she still couldn't move, so she only told the old master of the Firmament Palace to leave the mountain and treat the Zhou family's old master and the matriarch of the Flower Valley. The old master of the Firmament Palace gladly went to save the two of them and brought them back to the northern Yin kingdom. While Jun Linyuan and Gui Tsulai were fighting, the three of them were enjoying themselves in a tea house. Feng Wu had no idea of any of this. Even the king of northern Yin didn't know. A storm seemed to be brewing in the capital city. Right now, it was only the calmness before the storm. But it wasn't exactly peaceful. The battle was still going on. Whoosh! There was another flash of light. Feng Wu saw another cut on Jun Linyuan's chest. Chapter 39-24. Chapter 39-24. The Duel 5. Chapter 39-24. The Duel 5. Screw you. Feng Wu's face darkened when she saw Jun Linyuan's injury. Jun Linyuan had been losing ground since the battle started, and he had been injured twice. Feng Wu felt so sorry for him. However, the discussion only made her angrier. Behind her were the people of northern Yin. They were discussing among themselves. Wait, is that Jun Linyuan, the crown prince? The most powerful man? I think he's just the most powerful man in the Junwu Empire. He's not like that in the northern Yin kingdom. That's right. The most powerful man in northern Yin is Gui Tsulai, the swordsman. And there's the patriarch. I heard that he gave Gui Tsulai a new sword, Heaven Demon. From now on, he'll be known as Gui Tsulai, the Heaven Demon Swordsman. So many people have been praising Jun Linyuan, and here I was, wondering how capable Jun Linyuan would be. As it turned out, he's still going to lose. That's right. Northern Yin is the most powerful force on this continent, and the Junwu Empire is nothing. We're superior to them. Feng Wu was angry and worried. She was angry because Jun Linyuan had to fight when he was still injured while Gui Tsulai had upgraded his equipment. To make it worse, she had given the sword to Gui Tsulai. She was worried that Jun Linyuan's injury would get worse. All of a sudden, 9 streaks of sword energy shot out at Jun Linyuan. 8 of them are fake, and only 1 of them is real. Feng Wu heard a voice. Feng Wu was confused. It wasn't Feng Sun. Turning her head, she saw that someone else had joined her. No, it wasn't a human being, but an eagle. The giant eagle. The patriarch's giant eagle. Feng Wu was elated. That was right. She still had her 6th senior brother. If things got worse, she could always ask him to stop the unfair battle. Did you just say that 8 of them are fake and 1 is real? Feng Wu looked at the eagle in bewilderment. The giant eagle sat there like a human being, and it had deliberately adjusted its size. Therefore, many people who had been watching the battle didn't notice the eagle next to Feng Wu. Staring at the battle in the sky, the giant eagle narrowed its eyes, as if it was thinking about something. It's a unique swordplay. If that kid can find out which is the real one, he'll be able to turn things around. The giant eagle had never been so serious. Feng Wu looked up in a hurry. The 9 streaks of dragon-like sword energy each had a different color, and they looked like 9 dragons. Which one was real? You won't recognize it, the giant eagle said unhurriedly. Feng Wu was so frustrated that she couldn't recognize it, for she wasn't capable enough yet. If that was the case, why would the silly bird tell her? Just then, Feng Wu heard a voice in her head. The green one. Wait. Feng Wu recognized the voice as Little Phoenix's. She was the only one who could hear it. Green. Feng Wu repeated in bewilderment. As a matter of fact, she was asking Little Phoenix, but the giant eagle didn't know that. You can tell. The giant eagle stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She reacted quickly and stared at the giant eagle. How do you know that? The eagle glanced at Feng Wu and said proudly, Of course I do. I know everything. But how did you guess it? Why did you guess green? Feng Wu didn't have time to talk about it. Instead, she focused on the sky. The eagle wouldn't let go of Feng Wu. How did you know that? How? Feng Wu looked up at the sky and asked the eagle. Then how did you know? The eagle said, Of course I know. Guizulai didn't understand the sword intent himself, and had been walking back and forth outside our tower for months. He almost pulled his hair off, but my master explained it to him. I was there. How do you think I knew? Seeing that Feng Wu was going to shout, the giant eagle stopped her. Stop it. It's not fair. Feng Wu said angrily. Giving Guizulai the heaven demon sword was the most unfair thing. Why can't I tell Jun Linyuan? No, you can't. The eagle wrapped its wings around Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, I'm going to tell Sixth Senior Brother that you've been bullying me. The eagle panicked. Hey, don't do that. I'll let go of you, all right? But you can't tell on me. The eagle thought, I guess I can't help Guizulai anymore. After all, Feng Wu had the patriarch behind her. Feng Wu grunted. When she crawled out from under the wings and looked up at the sky, she saw. Wait a minute. Feng Wu was surprised, and so was the giant eagle. Because by then, the 8 sword images were gone, and all that was left was the green sword energy. The green sword flew toward Jun Linyuan like a giant dragon, and Jun Linyuan grabbed it. Right now he looked like a sovereign lord, so powerful that it was an unmatched visual impact. Hee. The eagle turned to look at Feng Wu and stammered in surprise. He guessed it, didn't he? Feng Wu gloated. No, he didn't. Jun Linyuan is the smartest person. Just live with it. The eagle said, I don't believe you. He must have guessed it. Feng Wu gloated. Even if that's the case, it's only because he's unbelievably lucky. Luck is a part of one's capability. What are you going to do about it? The eagle said, You're on his side. Feng Wu said, That's right. I'm on his side. What are you going to do? The eagle was furious. What was there to be proud of? He was just a teenager who had almost been defeated by Guizulai. What was there to be proud of? Well, the eagle scratched its head. Guizulai seemed to be quite a capable cultivator. It couldn't defeat him when he was 20. The bird stopped thinking about it. While the eagle was watching the battle in the sky and saw the tens of thousands of sword energies shooting out like erupting volcanoes, it shuddered all of a sudden, and countless sword intents appeared in its head. It seemed that it was going to break its bottleneck. Shit! Little Phoenix cried out in Feng Wu's ear. Feng Wu asked, What's wrong? What's wrong? Little Phoenix pointed at the eagle with a long face. It's going to make a breakthrough in advance. And it'll be stronger than me again. It'll be able to pick on me again. Gosh, that's so frustrating. Feng Wu looked at the giant eagle in surprise. The bird indeed looked like it was having an epiphany. Little Phoenix's wailing voice rang out in Feng Wu's ears again. We magical beasts aren't like you humans. You need an epiphany to make a breakthrough. It's already very difficult for magical beasts to gain intelligence, but an epiphany is as difficult as ascending to heaven. Therefore, we usually don't need an epiphany during breakthroughs. But if you have an epiphany, your cultivation level will rise by a lot more than 1 or 2 levels. Little Phoenix cried. It's having an epiphany now. It's having an epiphany. Feng Wu gave Little Phoenix a sympathetic look, then looked at the eagle. Feng Wu noticed that the apron she made for the eagle in her spare time was hanging on its back, and the pocket was stuffed with nuts, sweets, and snacks. This bird. It's just here to enjoy the show, Feng Wu said in resignation. How many breakthroughs can it make? That was what Little Phoenix cared about the most. If the eagle only made 1 or 2 breakthroughs, Little Phoenix might be able to catch up with it. However, if it made too many breakthroughs, Little Phoenix still remembered how the eagle had stopped it when it tried to enter the tower. It was so frustrating. Feng Wu looked at Little Phoenix and shook her head, indicating that she didn't know either. Meanwhile, things had turned around in midair. When Jun Linyuan exerted his full power, Gui Tsulai began to lose ground. Feng Wu almost jumped to her feet. Jun Linyuan held back, because he wanted to see how capable Gui Tsulai was. Feng Wu turned to the eldest prince. He's exerting his full power now. The eldest prince's face was a little pale. He had never thought that Jun Linyuan would win. How could he possibly win? Who was Gui Tsulai? Gui Tsulai was born a genius. When he was little, the patriarch taught him how to use a sword. He started challenging masters of various sects when he was 10, and became a spiritual saint when he was 20. From then on, he was invincible. He had even been to that legendary kingdom on the other side of the East Sea, and had come back safe and sound. Jun Linyuan was indeed an incredible cultivator. But Gui Tsulai, who had fought so many battles and stood at the top of the world, wasn't someone Jun Linyuan could defeat. Therefore, when Jun Linyuan was at a disadvantage at first, the eldest prince couldn't understand why everyone was saying that Jun Linyuan wasn't good enough. Wasn't it obvious? There was no way he could win. But now, the eldest prince stood there in astonishment. Jun Linyuan didn't even use the arm of discipline. He was using the half-damaged Sky Destroyer that Feng Wu had mentioned. The Sky Destroyer was scarlet red in color, and wherever the sword went, blood splashed everywhere. 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. By then, Gui Tsulai had been stabbed over a dozen times. The eldest prince couldn't sit still anymore. Rising to his feet, he clenched his fists and stared at Jun Linyuan. Meanwhile, Huyenichin was equally dumbfounded. It was 5 or 6 years ago when Jun Linyuan came to the northern Yin kingdom last time. Huyenichin believed that Jun Linyuan was a genius back then, but he wasn't as capable as he was now. He had cornered Gui Tsulai, who couldn't fight back. Huyenichin looked back at Feng Wu. Right now, all Feng Wu cared about was Jun Linyuan. He then recalled how he had overestimated himself and fallen in love with Feng Wu. Not only that, but he had also thrown a tantrum for hours. Huyenichin was so ashamed that he almost dropped to the ground. Meanwhile, someone else was equally astonished. Chapter 39:25. Chapter 39:25. The Perilous Moment. Chapter 39:25. The Perilous Moment. Night Owl was also astonished. He couldn't sit still after Jun Linyuan turned things around. Although he knew deep down that Jun Linyuan was never going to lose, Night Owl was still so angry that he almost jumped off his chair. Just when Sakia thought he was going to explode, Night Owl took a deep breath and let out a breath of relief. Only then did he calm down. Seeing Night Owl like this, Sakia nodded. As long as the Crown Prince could stay calm, there was still hope. Sir, I was so wise that I sent Xiao ahead of time. Night Owl played with the fruit in his hand and smiled at Sakia. Sakia didn't say anything. Master, are you disappointed in me? Night Owl stared at him. Sakia narrowed his eyes and looked at the Crown Prince, whom he had brought up. Night Owl snickered. Master, have you fantasized about having Jun Linyuan as your pupil so many times that you couldn't sleep at night? Night Owl stared at Sakia as he spoke. Sakia narrowed his eyes even more. Night Owl laughed so hard that he was convulsed. He even clapped his hands. Master, I was only joking. Sakia stared at Night Owl and heaved a long sigh. He cupped his hands at Night Owl and left. He was leaving just like that. Night Owl's face darkened when he saw Sakia leave. He smashed the table next to him after Sakia was gone. He just doesn't like me. He just thinks that Jun Linyuan is better than me. Is Jun Linyuan stronger than me? He's going to die. How can he be better than me? Night Owl vented his frustration. He chased everyone out of the room. His heart-wrenching scream resonated in the spacious room. He whimpered like an injured beast. To him, who was only one step away from Jun Linyuan, Jun Linyuan's talent was unacceptable. He had been dreaming about surpassing Jun Linyuan. Just then, a dark shadow appeared and asked a question. Do you want to surpass Jun Linyuan? Who could it be? Night Owl turned around involuntarily, but there was no one behind him. A chill ran down his spine. Do you really want to surpass Jun Linyuan? The voice rang out again. Who's there? Who are you? Come out. Night Owl was on the alert. He kept spinning around, trying to find the person, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find the person. Tell me yes or no. The voice seemed to be giving Night Owl a chance to make a choice. Night Owl froze on the spot. As the voice rang out, a terrifying power seemed to restrain him. Night Owl realized that he couldn't even move a finger. Why was this happening? To make it worse, Night Owl felt the power of death around him. What a terrifying power. As a prince of the Dongseng Kingdom, Night Owl had met many capable cultivators, but he had never met anyone so terrifying. This person reminded him of Minister Chu. People wanted to prostrate on the ground and worship this person. Who on earth are you? The person didn't reply. Seeing that Night Owl still hadn't answered the question, the person seemed displeased. The suffocating coldness seemed to dissipate as well. Night Owl's stomach lurched. He suddenly had a feeling that he would lose this opportunity forever. Seeing that the master was going to give up on him, Night Owl suddenly raised his voice. Wait, I'll tell you. I'll answer your question now. That's right. I'm jealous of Jun Linyuan. He's the one I want to defeat the most. He's my nightmare as long as he's alive and my archenemy after he's dead. Night Owl was about to say something else when the shadow waved at him. Night Owl immediately stopped talking. You talk too much. The shadow seemed displeased. Night Owl held his breath. Could it really be Master Chu Tianxiao? Night Owl was thrilled. The next second, the shadow tossed Night Owl a stone. To be more precise, it was a purple pebble. Night Owl looked at the purple pebble in bewilderment. The shadow said, to master the technique, you have to first. Once that happens, Jun Linyuan won't be your match anymore. The Radnu was ready and leave after that. Night Owl didn't see the person's face, and had no idea where the person came from. Seeing that the shadow was leaving, Night Owl ran after them. What if I don't want to practice it? The shadow snorted. It'll set itself on fire in 2 hours. After that, the shadow disappeared, leaving Night Owl behind. What was the prerequisite for mastering the technique? Night Owl injected his spiritual essence into the purple pebble, and soon, words flew out of it and lined up in the air. The first line of the words in midair said, to master the technique, one has to castrate themselves first. Night Owl was astonished. It took him a while to recover from the shock. Castration? Night Owl didn't know what to say. Naturally, he wouldn't do that. That was preposterous. Night Owl looked at the water screen and saw that the battle was coming to an end. Night Owl thought to himself, Jun Linyuan is going to win. But so what if Jun Linyuan was going to win? Night Owl had long seen that Jun Linyuan was injured, and there was blood on his clothes. It had to cost him a lot. Xiao couldn't get there yet. Even with the special portal, it would still take him some time. But the 3 old masters were there. Night Owl sat back down and waited for Jun Linyuan's death. Meanwhile, in the temple of the Northern Yin Kingdom, seeing that Jun Linyuan had gained the upper hand and Gui Tsulai was steadily losing ground, Feng Wu was so excited that she almost waved her fists. However, she restrained herself when she considered the fact that the giant eagle was having an epiphany. A short distance away, Princess Raoshi clenched her fists involuntarily, her cheeks flushed and her eyes bright. Only the people of the Northern Yin Kingdom knew what a capable cultivator Gui Lai was. Right now, Jun Linyuan was going to defeat him. Whoosh! Sky Destroyer moved again, and this time, it stabbed at Gui Tsulai's throat. It was too late to dodge. The Sky Destroyer was aimed at Gui Tsulai's throat. Time seemed to freeze at that moment. Everyone held their breaths, and the people of the Northern Yin Kingdom watched this in astonishment. As much as they hated to admit it, Jun Linyuan had indeed pointed his sword at Gui Tsulai's vital point. With a flip of his wrist, Gui Tsulai's throat would be pierced instantly, and his life would be in danger. You win. Gui Tsulai stared at Jun Linyuan, with a defeated look in his eyes. He had risen by a level since the last time he met Jun Linyuan, and had switched to the Heaven Demon Sword. He had come here with great ambition, but he had been defeated by Jun Linyuan. It took him by surprise. Therefore, when Jun Linyuan was ready to draw back his sword, Gui Tsulai ambushed him. You bastard! Feng Wu was furious. How dare you sneak up on my Junjun? You must be tired of living. Feng Wu had made up her mind. She would tell her sixth senior brother about it when she got back. Little Phoenix said, he's forcing Jun Linyuan to kill him. What? Feng Wu looked up, and saw that the tip of Jun Linyuan's sword was already in Gui Tsulai's neck. Blood was oozing out, but Gui Tsulai was still smiling. Jun Linyuan had obviously stopped, but Gui Tsulai grabbed Sky Destroyer with his bare hands. His palms were covered with blood, but he still stuck Sky Destroyer into his throat. He had to have lost his mind. Just then, the people of the Northern Yin Kingdom saw it as well. Their eyesight wasn't as good as Feng Wu's, so they only saw a little. Jun Linyuan has crossed the line. Gui Tsulai admitted our defeat, but he still wants to kill him. That's right. How can he be so cruel? How can he be so cruel? Haven't you heard of that fiend? He's synonymous with cold-blooded murderers. But no matter how many people he kills, he should do it in the Junhua Empire. He can't show off in the Northern Yin Kingdom. That's right. Gui Tsulai is our symbol. We can accept his defeat. But how can Jun Linyuan humiliate him like this? By humiliating Gui Tsulai, he's humiliating all the people of the Northern Yin Kingdom. Feng Wu was furious. Blind. Were these people blind? Couldn't they see what was going on? No, they weren't blind. Some of them could see what was going on. But as natives of Northern Yin, they always took Gui Tsulai's side. That was their home-ground advantage. Feng Wu was about to say something when someone stepped out. It's not what you think. There has to be a misunderstanding. Princess Raoshi rose to her feet and turned to face the crowd. Please trust me. I'll give you an explanation. Feng Wu stared at her coldly. What was that supposed to mean? Wasn't it obvious? Gui Tsulai had been trying to kill himself and wanted to die by Jun Linyuan's sword. Feng Wu looked up anxiously. Jun Linyuan was badly injured, so when Gui Tsulai exerted all his strength, Jun Linyuan couldn't push him away. Below, Princess Raoshi seemed to be speaking up for Jun Linyuan, but her words were ambiguous. Feng Wu heard someone ask Princess Raoshi, "What's your relationship with the Crown Prince of the Junhua Empire? Why are you helping the people of the Junhua Empire instead of our own swordsmen?" Princess Raoshi looked as if she had been put in a difficult spot, but her cheeks had turned pink. Feng Sun glared at Princess Raoshi. Why did he feel that the princess was looking for trouble? Why did she seem to want to create a rumor between her and Boss Jun? That was indeed the case. Tears welled up in Princess Raoshi's eyes as she shook her head. You're mistaken. How can I have anything to do with His Royal Highness? I only met him a few years ago, and we sat in the same carriage. Other than that, how can there be anything between us? It's improper for a man and a woman to stay in a room alone. And you were in the same carriage. Who knows what you did in the carriage? Your Royal Highness, if you really have nothing to do with Jun Linyuan, from now on, you don't have to say another word for him. But His Royal Highness is a guest. Look, don't you see? Princess Raoshi is still on His Royal Highness's side. Would she do this if they weren't involved? Have they? Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She looked at Princess Raoshi in astonishment. Meanwhile, Princess Raoshi was also looking at Feng Wu, and their eyes met. Feng Wu saw the look of satisfaction in Raoshi's eyes. She did it on purpose. Feng Sun was furious. Boss Jun was supposed to be an impeccable man, but he had just been blackmailed by this woman, right under their noses. Feng Wu was amazed by how shameless Princess Raoshi was. Princess Raoshi only snorted and went on talking to her people. Feng Wu held her breath. Suddenly, she concentrated her energy in her dantian and shouted at the top of her lungs. Gui Tsulai! Hearing Feng Wu's thunderous voice, everyone gave her strange looks. Feng Wu went on yelling. Get the hell down from there. A hush fell over the crowd. Everyone was speechless. Even the third prince looked at Feng Wu in astonishment and admiration. That was incredible. After all, Gui Tsulai was the best swordsman of northern Yen. What a formidable cultivator. How dare Feng Wu yell at him like that? It was as if she was yelling at her servant. Princess Raoshi smirked and waited for Feng Wu to embarrass herself. But, to everyone's astonishment, Gui Tsulai stopped moving when he heard Feng Wu's voice. Jun Linyuan looked from Gui Tsulai to Feng Wu, and was even more confused. Even someone as smart as the crown prince couldn't figure out what was going on. Gui Tsulai let go of Jun Linyuan's Sky Destroyer, and only landed after giving him a long look. He had really landed. No one said a word. They all held their breaths and stared at Gui Tsulai, wondering what had happened to him. The swordsman had always been a lone wolf. What was he going to do now? Was he going to kill the girl? That was the only way to save his dignity as a swordsman, wasn't it? Many people thought so. What Princess Raoshi was thinking was that even if Gui Tsulai didn't kill Feng Wu, he would still teach her a lesson because the best swordsman couldn't be humiliated. Right now, Jun Linyuan was standing behind Feng Wu like a rock, protecting the petite girl in front of him. Princess Rao 11 stepped forward and bowed at Gui Ke. She was about to say something when he nodded at her without saying a word. He had always been a man of few words. Princess Raoshi didn't feel offended either, because Gui Tsulai was powerful enough to do that. Gui Tsulai stood in front of Feng Wu and kept his unblinking gaze on her. Feng Wu cleared her throat uneasily. She had bellowed in excitement just then, but when Gui Tsulai walked up to her, she felt a little embarrassed. After all, he was the best swordsman of the northern Yin kingdom. Was she a little? However, Gui Ke spoke the next moment. Miss, how can I help you? Wait. Everyone was scared out of their wits. Miss, what did he mean? Did he mean what he thought he meant? What was with that title? However, Gui Tsulai frowned and spoke again. Miss. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Noticing that all eyes were on her, and even Jun Linyuan crossed his arms and raised his eyebrows, Feng Wu was embarrassed. Feng Wu waved him off. You're not my servant. That's not necessary. Gui Tsulai nodded and didn't say anything else, but he seemed to be protecting Feng Wu from where he stood. Well, 3 people were sipping tea in a tea house a short distance away. The battle between the swordsmen on the top of the temple had ended. The show was only getting started. It's our turn. It was none other than the old master of the Firmament Palace. With a wave of her hand, she covered her face with a black scarf. The head of the Firmament Palace was hiding her face, which meant that she didn't want to expose herself. The Zhua family's elder and the Hua family's old lady looked at each other, and they covered their faces as well. Hence, when the crowd was about to leave, formidable, cold energy spread out toward the temple. Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes and pulled Feng Wu behind him. The next second, Gui Tsulai stood in front of Feng Wu as well. The old master of the Zhua family, the old lady of the Hua family, and the master of the Firmament Palace joined the battle. They formed a triangle around Jun Linyuan and the others. Everyone was astonished. They stared at the 3 masked men in black, who had surrounded Jun Linyuan and the others. Who were they? Why were they so powerful? They hadn't started fighting yet, but the impact made their blood boil. They were too close. Hence, the commoners backed away. But they were curious as well, so the bold ones stopped at a tea house a kilometer away. Together, they stared at the imminent battle. They had a feeling that the battle would be fiercer than the one between Jun Linyuan and Gui Tsulai. Patriarch Zhua, Matriarch Hua, and the master of the Firmament Palace took up positions in midair and surrounded the crowd. Seeing the princes and princesses of northern Yen, Patriarch Zhua said coldly, "You random people should get out of my way. Who is their target? Our target is Jun Linyuan. The rest of you leave." The old lady Hua only wanted to finish the battle as soon as possible. She didn't want to get involved with the most capable cultivators of the northern Yin kingdom. Gui Tsulai was one of them. And they didn't want to mess with Patriarch Huyan either. Princess Raoshi and the eldest prince looked at each other. The three of them. Gui Tsulai said, "It's a battle of the spiritual saints. Leave." He was a swordsman of the northern Yin kingdom, so he reminded the princes and princesses. Neither Princess Raoshi nor the eldest prince moved. Apart from them, Feng Wu, Little Phoenix, Feng Sun, Huyan, and the eagle were also there. "Your Royal Highness, it's been a while. How have you been?" Patriarchs were asked in a taunting voice. Half a month ago, Jun Linyuan attacked the Zhua family's old manor in Shangyang province and defeated the old man. Today, things had turned around, and Patriarch Zhua was sure that he was going to win. Of course, Princess Raoshi recognized them right away, for she had worked with them before. They weren't the only ones. There were more. They were after Feng Wu, but why did they go after Jun Linyuan now? Princess Raoshi was suspicious, but her eyes soon lit up because she had an excellent idea. The best way to get Jun Linyuan. Get out. Jun Linyuan tried to push Feng Wu out of the circle. But Feng Wu shook her head affirmatively. "No." Jun Linyuan frowned a little. "Do as I say." Feng Wu looked into his eyes. "No. I want to fight alongside you." However, at that moment, a gust of wind charged at them. Apart from Jun Linyuan and Gui Tsulai, everyone else was blown hundreds of meters away before they fell to the ground with a thump. Of course, patriarchs wouldn't be polite with these kids. Even Princess Raoshi and the eldest prince fell to the ground, let alone Feng Wu. Ouch! The giant eagle was woken up by the noise. Covering its butt, it opened its eyes and looked around in confusion. Was the battle over? "Stop whining. What level are you now?" Little Phoenix sat on the eagle's shoulder and smacked it on the head. The giant eagle was still dumbfounded. "I used to be at level, but now I've risen by 1, 2, and 3 levels. Gosh, I'm a level 2 spiritual saint now." The giant eagle stomped its foot in frustration. "I could have made another breakthrough, but I was woken up. Who did it? Who kicked me?" Staring at the eagle in astonishment, Little Phoenix cringed. The eagle was already a level 2 spiritual saint. Little Phoenix didn't know what to say. The giant eagle looked at Little Phoenix. "Did you just hit my head?" Little Phoenix swallowed. Meanwhile, Princess Raoshi grabbed Feng Wu's arm, for Feng Wu was running toward the arena. "Listen to me. I can save Jun Linyuan." Princess Raoshi had never been so serious. "Give me what I want, and I'll help you save Jun Linyuan." Feng Wu threw off her hand. However, Princess Raoshi shouted after her. "Jun Linyuan is alone, but he's fighting 3 spiritual saints. Do you think he can defeat them all? Do you think the 3 of them are the only ones? You're making a big mistake if you think that way." Feng Wu stopped, turned around, and stared at Princess Raoshi. She knew better than Princess Raoshi that Jun Linyuan was injured. He had been injured before the battle, and his wounds had only gotten worse. Feng Wu could smell blood on him just then, and his clothes were soaked with blood. However, because he was wearing a black robe, people couldn't see it with their naked eyes. "And the Dongseng Kingdom?" Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Princess Raoshi smirked. "You're so good at guessing." Feng Wu said coldly. "Didn't you work with them to kill me?" Princess Raoshi almost choked on her own spit. However, she could do it, but she couldn't say it aloud. Therefore, she denied it right away. "That's bullshit." Feng Wu smirked and didn't reply. The others were dumbfounded. Especially the eldest prince and Huyan. They exchanged looks. Did Feng Wu just say that Princess Raoshi had teamed up with these spiritual saints to kill Feng Wu? That was to say, Feng Wu had escaped the pursuit of these powerful cultivators. That couldn't have been. But judging by the look on Feng Wu's face, she was telling the truth. The eldest prince was astonished. Meanwhile, Huyan was dumbfounded. It then occurred to him that he had fancied Feng Wu before, and had felt conflicted because of the rumor about Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan. Gosh, he was thinking too highly of himself. Staring at Feng Wu, Princess Raoshi said, "I'm the only one who can save Jun Linyuan now." Feng Wu glanced at her and said, "Speak." But Princess Raoshi couldn't tell the others that because it was very private. She whispered something in Feng Wu's ear. Feng Wu only had one word for her suggestion. Shameless. However, Princess Reiwa wasn't provoked. Instead, she grinned at Feng Wu. I'm taking advantage of the situation. Yes, I find it shameless, but you're in love with him. Since you like him, you should give up on him. What kind of logic was that? Feng Wu ignored her and ran into the circle as fast as she could. Feng Wu saw how shameless the three spiritual saints were. They were attacking Jun Linyuan all at once. Feng Wu didn't think much of it under normal circumstances, but her Junjun was so badly injured that she almost couldn't breathe. She saw Gui Tsulai watching the battle, as if he was comprehending something. Gui Tsulai. Feng Wu looked at him. Gui Tsulai revered Feng Wu, because he had seen with his own eyes how the patriarch treated the girl. The old master treated her like a treasure, so Gui Tsulai saw her as a young master. Feng Wu said, "Will you listen to me?" Gui Tsulai looked at Feng Wu and nodded. Feng Wu said, "I know you're a top swordsman and won't follow orders. Let's make a deal. If you help me this time, I'll owe you one. When you're in trouble next time, no matter what the situation is, I'll help you with my life." It wasn't that Feng Wu hadn't thought about asking for her sixth senior brother's help. In fact, she had talked to the giant eagle earlier, and the eagle had let slip that the patriarch wasn't in the tower. He wasn't in the tower. Feng Wu was filled with despair. Hence, she could only ask Gui Tsulai for help now. A moment ago, Gui Tsulai was going to fight Jun Linyuan to the death, but now, she was asking him to help her. Feng Wu didn't know what to say, but she didn't mind giving up her dignity for Jun Linyuan. She had to force Gui Tsulai for this once. Gui Ke gave Feng Wu a serious look. After some thought, he nodded and said, "All right." Feng Wu nodded at Gui Tsulai with a smile. The next second, she turned to look at the battle and set foot in the arena. She headed straight for Matriarch Hua as soon as she walked in. Her plan was very clear. Jun Linyuan still had a chance, and as long as they stalled the other two, Jun Linyuan would be able to take care of one of them as soon as he could. Gui Tsulai, stall the master of the Firmament Palace. Yes, the tallest old woman. The head of the Firmament Palace almost exploded when he heard what Feng Wu said. The tallest old woman? Was she that old? Chapter 39-26, Chapter 39-26, The Mighty Crown Prince. Chapter 39-26, The Mighty Crown Prince. The tallest old woman? Was she old? She was beautiful. The master of the Firmament Palace was furious. But she didn't have time to do that, because Gui Tsulai was already attacking her. The master of the Firmament Palace didn't want to fight Gui Tsulai, for her target was Jun Linyuan. It wasn't in her interest to fight Gui Tsulai. She couldn't help but say, "Gui Tsulai, this is none of your business. Go away." Gui Tsulai remained unperturbed and didn't say a word. Recalling what Feng Wu had promised Gui Tsulai, the head of the Firmament Palace gritted her teeth and said, "I'll do whatever Feng Wu offers you. If she owes you a favor, so will the Firmament Palace. Please leave." The three of them had been confident that they could defeat the injured Jun Linyuan when they attacked him together. But Feng Wu had lured Lady Hua away. If Gui Tsulai were to lure her away now, Patriarch Wu wouldn't be able to face Jun Linyuan all by himself. However, Gui Tsulai was simply too difficult to handle. He didn't say a word. No matter what the head of the Firmament Palace said, he only struck out with his sword without showing any emotion, which infuriated the old lady. The head of the Firmament Palace had to dodge the attack, while helping Patriarch Wu to attack Jun Linyuan. Just then someone was stabbed. The head of the Firmament Palace took a look, and her eyes lit up. As it turned out, Feng Wu, who was fighting Matriarch Hua, had been hit. An ant can't shake a tree. Matriarch Hua smirked. That was indeed the case. Feng Wu was only a peak spiritual overlord, and hadn't reached the spiritual saint stage yet. How was she supposed to fight these top cultivators? She wouldn't have been so reckless on any other day. But Jun Linyuan's life was at stake now, so she had to do her best. Whoosh! Another strike cut Feng Wu's arm. Feng Wu dodged in time, and wasn't hit in the vital part, but her clothes were soon soaked with blood. Blood oozed out like a blossoming flower. Jun Linyuan was so anxious that his eyes were bloodshot red. But he was surrounded by the old master of the Firmament Palace and Patriarch Swa. The temperature dropped, and everyone felt as if they had fallen into an ice house. Seeing Jun Linyuan's rage, the head of the Firmament Palace smirked. Jun Linyuan, I didn't know you could look like that. Jun Linyuan stared at the master of the Firmament Palace with his cold eyes. The next second, he pointed Sky Destroyer at her, and the sword energy shot up like a rainbow. Arg! The head of the Firmament Palace screamed. The blade had pierced her shoulder. Go to hell! The moment Jun Linyuan stabbed the master of the Firmament Palace, Patriarch Swa took the chance and stabbed Jun Linyuan in the back. Jun Linyuan, watch out! Seeing that Jun Linyuan was going to injure the master of the Firmament Palace at the cost of his own life, Feng Wu knew that Jun Linyuan wanted to kill the master of the Firmament Palace. That way, he would only have 2 people to deal with. Don't worry. I can do it. I have Little Phoenix and the Giant Eagle. We'll buy you some time. That was indeed the case. By then, Little Phoenix had arrived with the Giant Eagle. They charged into the battlefield and headed for Matriarch Hua. The Giant Eagle was the most capable one in Feng Wu's group, and it was already a level 2 spiritual saint. Both Feng Wu and Little Phoenix were stuck at the peak of the spiritual overlord stage. Even so, the crowd was shocked when they saw what Feng Wu fought, especially Princess Raoshi, whose nails almost dug into her palms when she saw what Feng Wu did. She had ordered people to hunt Feng Wu down, so of course she knew how capable Feng Wu was. She was a cripple without any cultivation ability back then, and before she was crippled, wasn't she supposed to be an intermediate spiritual overlord? How long had it been? It had only been a few months, but she had improved again. Why was she making progress so fast? The eldest prince was equally astonished. He had seen Feng Wu's capability when they fought against Princess Raoshi's assassins at Huyanichen's place. She had no cultivation ability. And Huyanichen, he was the one with the most say. Feng Wu couldn't do anything when she dealt with Princess Raoshi's assassin and lent him the arm of discipline. If she was capable enough, she wouldn't have relied on him. But now, she was only one step away from the legendary spiritual saint stage. Huyanichen almost burst into tears. Wait, he couldn't just stand there and watch. What if Feng Wu lost? He had to get help. But where? His grandfather. That was right. Huyanichen ran as fast as he could without telling the others. Since Huyanichen had gone to get help, of course, Princess Raoshi wouldn't stay idle. The spiritual overlords had almost no right to take part in this battle. Even peak spiritual overlords would only be cannon fodder if they went in. One could only imagine how dangerous Feng Wu's situation was. The difference in the cultivation levels between the 2 sides wasn't that big. As long as one more spiritual saint joined the battle, things would change. Apart from the Patriarch and Gil Kei, were there any other spiritual saints in the Northern Yin Kingdom? As a matter of fact, there was. Princess Raoshi's eyes darted around. She knew that with one more spiritual overlord, the tide would turn. This was the best chance to negotiate. Without hesitation, she dashed off. She wanted to go to court. Meanwhile, in the Dongseng Kingdom, Night Owl stared at the water screen with a cold, cruel look in his eyes. Her? Why her again? Night Owl couldn't understand it. What was wrong with this world? Why did all the girls revolve around Jun Linyuan? On the screen, he had learned that Princess Raoshi, his ally, had switched sides. Now Feng Wu was willing to sacrifice her own life for Jun Linyuan. Night Owl wanted to kick Feng Wu's ass and show her who the best man in the world was. Why wasn't Xiao here yet? There was a special path. The battles in Feng Wu's group were especially fierce. Their group was the weakest, and Matriarch Hua was furious when she saw Feng Wu. Back in the imperial capital, most of the spiritual overlords of the Hua family had been killed by the explosion because of Feng Wu's trap. Those that weren't killed were taken to the peace grassland. The old lady stared at Feng Wu. I'm going to kill you today. The old lady kept her promise and pointed her saber at Feng Wu. Whoosh! The blade cut Feng Wu on the back again, and blood gushed out. To the old lady, who was an intermediate spiritual saint, Feng Wu was nothing. Little Phoenix was so angry that its eyes turned red. With a whoosh, it charged at the old lady's head and stuck out its beak. The old lady struck down at Little Phoenix. However, at that moment, the giant eagle charged at the old lady and yelled, "How dare you touch her? How dare you? I'll die if my master finds out that I didn't protect her properly. Do you know that? How dare you touch her?" The old lady had no idea who the bird was talking about. All she did was chase after Feng Wu. Caught off guard, she stumbled back from the impact. Old Mrs. Hua finally steadied herself and aimed her fist at the eagle. Poor eagle. It flew backward at the impact. "Do hit the eagle. I won't let you." While she was dealing with the eagle, Little Phoenix struck out at her again, aiming at her throat. Hiding behind the old lady's collar, Little Phoenix bit down, and blood oozed out. "Ah!" Matriarch Hua screamed and charged at Little Phoenix again. However, Little Phoenix was too smart. Moreover, it could conceal itself, so the old lady couldn't catch it. It wouldn't be a problem for the old lady to catch the bird if the latter was on its own. But now that she was under attack from all three sides, catching the bird became very difficult. Just when she was about to throttle Little Phoenix, Feng Wu charged at the old lady again. Matriarch Hua turned her attention back to Feng Wu. Feng Wu frowned. This couldn't go on. The old lady would kill them before they could kill her. All of a sudden, Feng Wu's eyes lit up, and she waved at Little Phoenix. Feng Wu spoke to Little Phoenix in her head. "Don't you know how to hide yourself? Come over here, and let's take care of that old hag together." Little Phoenix's eyes lit up. That was right. Only by hiding itself could it catch the old hag off guard. The next second, Little Phoenix went back to Feng Wu. Feng Wu told the eagle, "We'll work together now. You'll be the main tank." The giant eagle was dumbfounded. What did she mean by that? What was a tank? There was no time for Feng Wu to explain. For the next second, she was out of sight. The old lady was astonished. She didn't know Feng Wu had that ability. An idea struck her all of a sudden, but it disappeared so fast that she didn't grab it. At that moment, the eagle followed Feng Wu's instruction and charged at the old lady again. The old lady was furious. She was confused. The eagle was only a level 2 spiritual saint, but why was its defense so strong? Because the primary heaven pill was about to expire, so of course, it would drop some crumbs. Because the pill had always been put in the shrine, there was no way that Patriarch Huyan would lick the table. However, the giant eagle could do it, and it would lick the white powder off the table. By the time Patriarch Huyan noticed it, the giant eagle had already become quite resistant to physical attacks. Hence, the old man began to train it in that direction. After all these years, the giant eagle had become an MT that could withstand blows. Of course, it had never been attacked by a spiritual saint before. But now, it realized how tough it was. What was there to be afraid of? The bird knew it could handle the attack. Thump! The old lady struck out at the eagle again. With a smack, the giant eagle was sent flying again. While the old lady was still attacking the eagle, Feng Wu made her move as well. She could see the old lady when she was invisible, but the old lady couldn't see her. Therefore, when the old lady struck down at the eagle, Feng Wu struck down at her with her arm of discipline. The arm used to be in Jun Linyuan's hand, but when Feng Wu joined the fight, Jun Linyuan removed it and gave it to her. The arm of discipline was a semi-divine weapon. All the weapons here put together weren't as lethal as this one. Matriarch Hua screamed. As it turned out, after Feng Wu put on the arm of discipline, she stabbed the old lady in the throat with a sharp blade. Poor Matriarch Hua. Caught off guard, another hole appeared in her throat. However, a level 4 spiritual saint was too powerful for Feng Wu. Even if she could break her defense, she couldn't go too deep. Little Phoenix could do that, because its beak was a semi-divine weapon. Seeing the blood oozing out, Feng Wu sighed inwardly and felt sorry for herself. She was so close. 1 inch deeper the old lady's aorta would have been cut off. What a pity. It wasn't every day that she had such an opportunity. That was indeed the case. After the ambush, the old lady had her eyes on Feng Wu. She was on guard, and would look at Feng Wu as soon as Feng Wu took a step forward. Feng Wu knew that with how alarmed the old lady was, it would be too difficult for her to sneak up on her again. But that suited her. Because Feng Wu wanted to stall the old lady, so that Jun Linyuan could deal with the Zhou family's old master. Just then they heard someone screaming. It was, turning around involuntarily, Feng Wu saw something exciting. Jun Linyuan's broken sky destroyer pierced the old master's chest. Jun Linyuan had 3 drops of blood on his fair, handsome face, while Patriarchs was stood there, too scared to move. Jun Linyuan's sword pierced the old man's chest. Behind the old man, Feng Wu could see that he was convulsing. Was he going to die? Feng Wu was still thinking that way when she saw the old man move something in his sleeve. Meanwhile, Jun Linyuan wasn't paying attention to the old man's hand. Everything happened in a split second. At that critical moment. Chapter 39:27. Chapter 39:27. Jun Linyuan went berserk. Chapter 39:27. Jun Linyuan went berserk. At that critical moment, Feng Wu made her move. Involuntarily, she raised her arm, and a barrel suddenly stuck out, aiming at Patriarch's arm. Instantly there was an explosion. Feng Wu fired at the old man, as she told the others to back off. Everyone here was smart. They were acutely aware of the danger, so they all backed away involuntarily. Jun Linyuan did the same, and Feng Wu ran the fastest. There was a loud explosion. Patriarch's was already holding something that looked like it was going to explode, but Feng Wu's explosion had increased the power by several times. Boom! Flames filled the air. The fire was blazing. Involuntarily, Feng Wu and the others lay flat on their stomachs to dodge the impact. Jun Linyuan threw himself at Feng Wu, shielding her with his own body. Poof! Boom! Even with the invisible formation, the temple still cracked, as if it could collapse at any moment. The onlookers were 1,000 meters away, and thought that they had run far enough. But when the shockwave hit them, they realized how terrifying it was. Arg! My eyes! My hair! I'm on fire! My clothes are in pieces! My face is covered with blood. Even from so far away, these people were already in such a miserable state, let alone someone so close to the Patriarch's. Everything quieted down after the explosion. Wiping away the ash on her face, Feng Wu looked up and saw that Patriarch Zhou had turned into a charred corpse. Standing there, he looked rather intimidating. The battle had stopped, but Little Phoenix reacted quickly and hid in her ring space. The giant eagle was able to withstand the attack, so it was fine. What about Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu heard a faint noise. Only then did Feng Wu's ears stop buzzing, and she gradually regained her senses. She then realized that someone was lying on her back. It was none other than Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu rose to her feet in a hurry, but she moved so fast that Jun Linyuan drew in his breath in pain. Feng Wu didn't dare to move, but she was worried sick. How do you feel? Does it hurt? Is it serious? Don't worry about it. Take the medicine first. Before Jun Linyuan could react, Feng Wu stuffed a handful of pills into his mouth. The semi-divine blood-clotting pill, the internal blood pill, the injury pill, the painless pill. Feng Wu stuffed everything she had into his mouth. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. A smile flickered in his cold eyes. Smile. A short distance away, Princess Raoshi was dumbfounded. What's going on? Your Royal Highness, how can you still be smiling? Moreover, why was he smiling so gently at Feng Wu? Not only was he smiling, but he was also rubbing Feng Wu's head. That was so frustrating. Meanwhile, Matriarch Hua and the Master of the Firmament Palace exchanged looks, and both saw fear in each other's eyes. Patriarch Hua was dead. He was dead just like that. Jun Linyuan, how dare you kill a spiritual saint? Matriarch Hua pointed at Jun Linyuan with a smirk on her face. Jun Linyuan snorted. Although he didn't say anything, everyone could tell what he meant. So what if he did? However, the old lady frowned. Don't you know that you have to pay a price for killing a spiritual saint? Jun Linyuan remained unperturbed. However, Feng Wu frowned a little. Her instinct told her that something wasn't right. Therefore, Feng Wu said, "So what if he killed a spiritual saint?" The old lady suddenly laughed. "So what? What do you think? A spiritual saint can't be humiliated or killed. If you kill him, the lightning tribulation will double when you climb the heavenly stairs." Feng Wu frowned. If that was the case, Jun Linyuan would be in a lot of trouble. Although she didn't know what heavenly stairs were if Jun Linyuan made another breakthrough in the future. Just then, the head of the Firmament Palace spoke in a cold voice. "If I'm not mistaken, just then, you killed Zhua, didn't you, Feng Wu?" The head of the Firmament Palace glanced at Feng Wu with a taunting look in her eyes. Feng Wu stiffened. Jun Linyuan stiffened as well. Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan looked at each other, and both recalled what happened before the old man died. Patriarch Zhua wasn't dead when Jun Linyuan's Sky Destroyer pierced his heart, and he was still strong enough to fight back. Feng Wu then aimed her arm at the old man. What? Feng Wu almost buried her head in her hands. It was true. She really had killed the old man. "I killed a spiritual saint. I killed a spiritual saint." No one would believe it, but it was the truth. Feng Wu looked at Jun Linyuan and wanted to cry, but no tears would come. Jun Linyuan was obviously in a bad mood as well. What if Feng Wu made a breakthrough one day? Seeing Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan's reaction, the old master of the Firmament Palace and Matriarch Hua were elated and laughed in satisfaction. However, the next moment, Jun Linyuan put Feng Wu aside and turned to face the two women. The temperature seemed to drop. A chill ran down their spines. "Protect yourself," Jun Linyuan told Feng Wu behind him. Feng Wu looked concerned. Looking around, Feng Wu was anxious. Why wasn't her sixth senior brother here yet? Meanwhile, the two women exchanged looks and nodded at each other. "Let's go!" Both women shouted at the same time. Gui Tsulai was about to move closer when a black shadow charged at Feng Wu and grabbed her. Feng Wu tried to throw him off, but she couldn't even move her arm of discipline. "It's you." Feng Wu recognized the person. The man in the black robe. It was none other than the black-robed man, who had taken Feng Wu away from the ship, but had been thrown off by Feng Wu. He had been chasing Feng Wu ever since. Feng Wu was filled with hatred as soon as she saw the person. Hiding behind the black mask, the man stared at Feng Wu with a smirk on his face. He then tried to drag Feng Wu away. While Jun Linyuan was fighting the two spiritual saints, he tried to take Feng Wu away. But he had forgotten about something. Gui Tsulai would never die for Jun Linyuan, but he wouldn't let anything happen to the girl that the patriarch was protecting. Hence, he drew out his heaven demon sword. "Put her down." He charged out and swiped the sword across the man's back. Whoosh! The back of the man's robe was cut open, revealing a bloody gash. The man was going to take Feng Wu away, but he slowed down a little so that Feng Wu could use her arm of discipline. The scorching hot barrel of the arm was aimed at the black-robed man's chest. There was a flash of lightning. At such a close distance, even when the black-robed man reacted in time and dodged the attack, he was still hit on the right side of his chest. "Ah!" The man bellowed and stared at Feng Wu. Since when did the girl have such a formidable weapon? Feng Wu's attack successfully helped Gui Tsulai block the man's way. He pointed his sword at the man. "Put her down." The man glared at Gui Tsulai. "Are you representing Northern Yen to make Dongseng your enemy?" Gui Tsulai's pupils contracted. Among the Junhua Empire, the Dongseng Kingdom, and the Northern Yen Kingdom, the Dongseng Kingdom was the strongest, the Junhua Empire the second, and the Northern Yen Kingdom the third. If the Dongseng Kingdom was offended, the Northern Yen Kingdom would be in a lot of trouble. Although Gui Tsulai was an unparalleled swordsman, he still had tens of thousands of fellow countrymen. He couldn't abandon them, nor could he abandon the fate of Northern Yen. But he still couldn't back off. Gui Tsulai blocked the man with his own body and stared at him. "Put her down." The man glared at her. "Are you really going to offend Dongseng?" Gui Tsulai said, "You can leave, but put her down." The man smirked. "Put it down?" He could do that. After tossing Feng Wu at Gui Tsulai, the man went to look for Jun Linyuan himself. Immediately, the three of them surrounded Jun Linyuan again. Exasperated, Feng Wu was about to go in when Gui Tsulai grabbed her. No! Feng Wu glared at him. Let go of me. If you won't help him, I will. However, Gui Tsulai still wouldn't let go of Feng Wu. He heaved a long sigh. I'll go fight Matriarch Hua. Stay here. The man was a high-ranking official of the Dongseng Kingdom, and the relationship between the Dongseng Kingdom and the Northern Yin Kingdom was concerned, so Gui Tsulai couldn't attack him. The matriarch of the Firmament Palace was still waking up, so he couldn't attach the head of the Firmament Palace either. Therefore, Matriarch Hua was the only one he could pick on. However, just as Gui Tsulai was about to move forward, he heard a thump. A sword stabbed into the old lady's body, instantly breaking her defense. It was Jun Linyuan. He was still able to kill the old lady when the three of them were attacking him together. However, a spiritual saint like Matriarch Hua couldn't be killed with one strike. She still had a lot of energy left. But Feng Wu reacted quickly. She had already activated her arm when Jun Linyuan stabbed the old lady. Feng Wu had spent a lot of effort to build this arm, and she had hidden a lot of hidden weapons in it. She had used a lot of them, but at least there were still some things left. She knew that it was now or never. Once the defense was broken, she could injure Matriarch Hua the way she had injured Patriarch Hua. Watch out! Feng Wu shouted as she ran toward the old lady and aimed her arm at the old lady's back. Instantly, flames filled the air. The giant eagle reacted quickly as well. When Feng Wu charged forward, it shifted and shielded Feng Wu with its cumbersome body, blocking the last strike from the old lady. As expected, the old lady wasn't to be trifled with either. Jun Linyuan had stabbed her in the chest and Feng Wu had fired at her in the back. She felt as if her soul was going to leave her body. How dare you? Go to hell. The old lady knew that she was doomed and was going to die here in the Northern Yin Kingdom, but she had to drag someone down with her. She had realized all along that Feng Wu was Jun Linyuan's treasure in his life. If Feng Wu died, Jun Linyuan might lose his mind, and if he lost his mind, the Jumwu Empire would be doomed. That was to say, her mission would be accomplished. Master, I've lived up to your order. After that, Matriarch Hua spared no effort and pounced at Feng Wu. She wanted to wrap her arms around Feng Wu and explode. Jun Linyuan was surrounded by the black-robed man and the old master of the Firmament Palace, and couldn't get close enough. Thud! Thud! Jun Linyuan was hit twice in a row. He stumbled and looked like he was going to collapse. Just as the old lady pounced at Feng Wu, Gui Tsulai leaped into the air. Spiritual essence filled the air, and the next second, he threw Feng Wu away, but he was too late. Thump! Matriarch Hua grabbed Gui Tsulai and blew herself up. Gui Tsulai! Feng Wu cried out in midair. She had been careless. She had been too careless. This was the battlefield of spiritual saints, and she was only a spiritual overlord. Although she was a peak spiritual overlord, she was a spiritual overlord nonetheless. This wasn't her battlefield. Staring at the flames, Feng Wu was filled with murderous intentions. Was Gui Tsulai dead? The ground shook violently, and the air seemed to ripple. The black smoke dissipated. Feng Wu saw the old lady's shattered body. Half of her body was still on Gui Tsulai. Meanwhile, cough cough, Gui Chu wasn't dead, but he was charred black from head to toe. Feng Wu rushed over and stuffed a handful of pills into his mouth. Blood-clotting pills, internal injury pills, anesthesia pills. She stuffed them all in. Gui Tsulai tasted something sweet in his throat, and blood gushed out. He was about to spit it out when Feng Wu said hastily, "They're all semi-divine pills." Gui Tsulai had never seen so many semi-divine pills before, and he couldn't bring himself to spit them out. He swallowed them all in one go with the blood. Seeing that he could still swallow the pill, Feng Wu let out a breath of relief. "You'll be fine. I think you'll be fine." Gui Tsulai opened his bright eyes and nodded at Feng Wu. He then sat down in a corner and started cultivating. Feng Wu was filled with guilt when she saw Gui Tsulai repairing his injuries, coughing violently before swallowing the blood. Only a moment ago, she was blaming Gui Tsulai for not doing anything. In fact, if she were to be serious, she would consider Gui Tsulai to be Jun Lingyuan's match. Only a petty person should be considered an enemy. It was already very rare that he had helped her before. Feng Wu took a deep breath. She owed Gui Tsulai one. And Feng Wu then saw the Heaven Demon Sword. Gui Tsulai had to rely on the Heaven Demon Sword to survive the explosion. Feng Wu was glad that she hadn't been too stingy and had given the sword to Gui Qiuii in the end. Otherwise, everything was predestined. However, Feng Wu had also been hit by some of the aftershocks, which made her blood boil. Feng Wu looked at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan only had two opponents left. One was the black-robed man, and the other was the old master of the Firmament Palace. As for Jun Linyuan, no matter how many wounds he had sustained, the stubborn teenager still stood ramrod straight like a god. It was the intimidating power of a supreme master. It was as if the two spiritual saints were as insignificant as ants. Feng Wu wasn't the only one who thought that way. Many other people thought the same. Was Jun Linyuan really the god of war? The old master of the Firmament Palace felt her heart skip a beat. She saw the charred body of Patriarch Swa and the disintegrated body of Matriarch Hua. She had been so confident before, but now she was suspicious. Was Jun Linyuan impossible to kill? Wasn't he injured before coming here to fight Gui Tsulai? Hadn't he been cut a few times by Patriarch Swa? Shouldn't he be dead by now? Why was he still fighting after losing so much blood? The head of the Firmament Palace couldn't understand it. Another person was confused as well. It was none other than the black-robed man. He hid in a corner and only came out when the battle was almost over. However, was it too early? Staring at the two spiritual saints with his cold eyes, Jun Linyuan was surrounded by a cold-blooded energy. His sky destroyer was already cracked, and it should be cracking at any moment. But blood dripped down the tip of his sword. With each step Jun Linyuan took, the two spiritual saints in front of him stumbled back. Feng Wu wondered who had said that confidence was more precious than a diamond. It seemed that it was true. Although two of them were spiritual saints, they still felt their confidence had been shattered by the severely injured Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan's murderous intention was like a tidal wave that no one dared to fight back. The old master of the Firmament Palace and the black-robed man looked at each other and nodded solemnly. They then charged at Jun Linyuan and fought him to the death. The Dongseng Kingdom? Night Owl was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it. How did this happen? Weren't the three of them attacking Jun Linyuan together? How could he take the chance to kill one of them? Were they idiots? Night Owl was so angry that he almost blew up his own room. There were two spiritual saints left, and Xiao would be here before Jun Linyuan's help arrived. Therefore, things were still manageable. Night Owl thought to himself. Meanwhile, many people felt differently from Night Owl. Because of how intimidating Jun Linyuan was, with each step he took, everyone felt that death was closing in on them. Jun Linyuan was about to crush everyone when a figure descended from above. That speed meant that it was another very capable cultivator. However, when the cold wind dissipated, the man in black said in pleasant surprise, "Master Xiao, you're here." Master Xiao. Feng Wu's heart sank when she saw the excited look on his face. The newcomer was from the enemy's side and was more powerful than the black-robed man. They just wouldn't stop. Feng Wu was almost in tears. Where's Feng? Why isn't he here? Hasn't he been protecting Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu grabbed Feng Sun. Feng Sun said with a long face, Feng has gone to another kingdom. It's that mysterious kingdom on the other side of the sea. He won't be back for a while. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. The three of them were working together against Jun Linyuan. No matter how capable her Junjun was, he wouldn't be able to withstand such a tiresome battle. The next moment, Jun Linyuan's eyes flickered, and a sword howled. Blood gushed out of Sky Destroyer, then turned into a river of blood behind Jun Linyuan. Blood filled the air. and the fierce sword energy howled like a gust of wind, bringing with it a destructive power. Feng Wu felt that Jun Lingyuan's cultivation level had suddenly risen, but the increase made her stomach lurch, and she felt that things were getting out of hand. As expected in the next moment. Shit! Feng Sun was so anxious that he almost jumped to his feet. No. No. Feng Wu grabbed Feng Sun and asked, "What happened? What happened? What's going on? What's that destructive power? Tell me." Feng Sun said anxiously, "Boss Jun has gone berserk. He's going berserk." Feng Wu's knees buckled. What do you mean by that? Was it the berserk state she thought about? Feng Sun was almost in tears. Where is Feng? He's the only one who can stop that. This is bad. However, apart from Feng Sun, no one knew what Jun Lingyuan's berserk state meant. Leave. Clear out this place. Feng Sun shouted at the people behind him. People 1,000 meters away had been injured, and many had run away. After all, no matter how good a battle was, one's life was the most important thing. But some bold people were still standing there. Meanwhile, Feng Sun grabbed Feng Wu's arm and yelled, "Fall back! Fall back now!" He grabbed Feng Wu by the back of her collar. Feng Sun tried to drag her away. However, Feng Wu struggled. "No, I want to stay here. Feng Wu was more capable than Feng Sun at the moment, so if Feng Wu didn't want to, Feng Sun wouldn't be able to drag her away. Not only that, but Feng Wu had also pushed him to the ground, and he slid for dozens of meters, which infuriated Feng Sun. Boss Jun has gone berserk. He's going berserk. He won't be able to recognize you. He'll kill you anyway, you idiot. Feng Sun yelled at Feng Wu. Feng Wu stiffened as well. Staring at Feng Sun, she asked, "What? Did you just?" Feng Sun said anxiously. The last time he lost his mind, he was only 10 years old, but the power he exerted was enough to destroy everything within a 50-kilometer radius. Where do you think he got that nickname from? He's a fiend who kills people like flies. Feng Wu was astonished. Feng Sun said, "Let's go." Feng Wu shook her head. "I'm not leaving." With or without Feng Wu, the four people started fighting again. It was true. Feng Wu couldn't go to the battlefield this time. The battle was much fiercer than before. Feng Wu saw that when Jun Lingyuan's sky destroyer flew into the air, it turned into a river of blood. Gradually, it turned into a blood-red bone dragon. Ignoring the others, Jun Lingyuan charged at the man in black. Right now, Jun Lingyuan's eyes had turned scarlet red, and he looked invincible. Seeing Jun Lingyuan charging at him, the man felt a chill run down his spine when he saw the strange look in Jun Lingyuan's eyes. It was as if he had died. He felt his arms go weak and his legs go numb, and he had forgotten how to lift a hand. What a pair of eyes! When Jun Lingyuan moved, the air seemed to crack. It was so terrifying. Was he really only an intermediate spiritual saint? Feng Wu felt that Jun Lingyuan was suddenly going all out. Frightened, the man in black turned to flee. Both Xiao and the master of the Firmament Palace blocked the man's way. The next second, they were knocked down by an arm. With a thump, Xiao was knocked to the left, and the master of the Firmament Palace to the right. Jun Lingyuan then ran after the man in black. SSSS. Xiao only drew in his breath, but the old master of the Firmament Palace touched her arm, which had gone numb, and was terrified. That capability. She wanted to curse him. Was Jun Lingyuan even human? How could it be so tough all of a sudden? She didn't have time to complain, because they were already chasing Jun Lingyuan. They couldn't let him kill the man in black just like that. The three of them formed a triangle, which was the most convenient way to attack Jun Lingyuan. If they were one man down, their attack power would be greatly reduced. However, how fast was Jun Lingyuan? Before the master of the Firmament Palace and Xiao could do anything, Jun Lingyuan had caught the arrogant black-robed man with his bare hands. Seeing the man in black, who looked like a chicken in Jun Lingyuan's hand, Feng Wu sighed inwardly. The man had given her the impression that he was as powerful as the sky, and she would never be able to get past him. However, he was like a fish on a chopping board now. Feng Wu could even see the panic in his eyes. For a moment, Feng Wu thought that the black-robed man was dead, but he kept showing up. And now Jun Linyuan finally had him. The next second, Jun Linyuan pulled with both hands. Whoosh! Ah! There was a scream. The black-robed man screamed in pain. Jun Linyuan had ripped the man in half with his bare hands. Next to Feng Wu, Feng Nun sneered a little. Feng Wu paled a little as well. Taking Feng Wu's hand, Feng Sun said in a trembling voice, "He's not thinking straight now. All he can do is kill everyone. Feng Wu stared at Feng Sun. Tears welled up in Feng Sun's eyes, but he still nodded solemnly. It hasn't happened for almost 10 years. He wouldn't have been like this if he hadn't been cornered. Feng is the only one who can stop him. Feng is the only one. With Boss Jun's capability, he doesn't need any protection at all. Feng has been following him around all these years to prevent this from happening. But he couldn't have predicted that something like this would happen when he was only gone for a few days. These people have pushed him to his limit." Tears welled up in Feng Wu's eyes as she watched Jun Linyuan lose himself in this berserk state. Her heart went out to him. Right now, Jun Linyuan reminded one of the god of war. There was a cold, murderous look in his eyes, as if he were the god of death. He had the power to destroy heaven and earth. The space around him contorted. Terrifying power filled the air. The wind howled. The murderous energy was chaotic. The blood dragon looked as if it had existed forever. Its scales glinted coldly, and its eyes were cold and emotionless. It took a deep breath, and the spiritual essence in the air seemed to be sucked out by it. It then injected all its drained spiritual essence into Jun Linyuan. It didn't fight, nor did it seem to care about fighting, but it kept giving its power to Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan headed straight for Xiao. Night Owl was so shocked that he fell to the ground. Oh God! He had never expected such a turn of events. It was so. Victory was on their side. Why was this happening? His face was drained of all color, and he was too shocked to speak. Jun Linyuan grabbed Xiao with his bare hands. Arg! Night Owl bellowed. No, it was Xiao. An intermediate spiritual saint. His father had given him that man to protect him. But Jun Linyuan ripped Xiao apart with his bare hands again. Blood gushed out, and Zhao's body was covered in blood. With his bare hands, Jun Linyuan had just torn a spiritual saint to pieces with her bare hands. Had this world gone insane? Or were they seeing things? The old master of the Firmament Palace was so frightened that her heart was pounding. That was so scary. She had been through countless battles in her life, but she had never felt so terrified before. Killing an intermediate spiritual saint was as easy as killing a chicken for Jun Linyuan. The head of the Firmament Palace didn't dare to stay here anymore. She ran as fast as a gust of wind. Jun Linyuan swayed and was ready to go after her. However, Feng Sun said anxiously, "No, he's too severely injured and has lost too much blood. Plus, there's only so much time left. He's reaching his limit." Stop! Northern Yan's king and his guards arrived in a hurry. He had already received the news, but he pretended that he didn't know what was going on. The situation was too complicated, and he didn't want the Northern Yan kingdom to get involved. Moreover, he was the king of the Northern Yan kingdom. If the Dongsang kingdom and the Junhua Empire were weakened, it would be a good thing for him. Therefore, he deliberately ignored them, but he couldn't do that now. A spiritual saint next to the king charged at Jun Linyuan. The next second, Jun Linyuan gave up on chasing the old master of the Firmament Palace. Instead, he reached out and grabbed the spiritual saint by the throat. Ah! The king cried out. He saw a murderous look in Jun Linyuan's eyes. It was as if he was going to charge at them as soon as he killed the spiritual saint. Chapter 39:28. Chapter 39:28. Junjun 1. Chapter 39:28. Junjun 1. Sensing that Jun Linyuan was coming their way, the king stumbled back involuntarily. Frightened by Jun Linyuan's cold demeanor, everyone felt a chill run down their spines, as if they were going to die at any moment. The spiritual saint in Jun Linyuan's hand began to struggle. He didn't want to die just like that. However, Jun Linyuan picked him up as easily as picking up a chicken. The onlookers were scared out of their wits, including the officials of the Northern Yin Kingdom. Isn't that? If I'm not mistaken, he's Master Wubai, isn't he? That's right, Master Wubai. He's the captain of His Majesty's personal guards, and one of the most capable cultivators in the Imperial Palace. Everyone exchanged looks of bewilderment. A top cultivator. Feng Wu's stomach lurched, and she froze on the spot. Emperor Yin murmured, "Has he lost his mind? Has Jun Linyuan lost his mind?" That was incredible. He was so powerful that the king was scared. As the king, he had nothing to be afraid of, but he could compare the ability of the two people. He knew perfectly well how capable Wubai was. He was on the same level as Gui Kalai, and the two of them were even fellow disciples. One was protecting the king, and the other was wandering around. But now, Jun Linyuan had grabbed Wubai by the throat before the latter could make a move. He was going to throttle Wubai. The Zhengwu Empire. That was unbelievable. Taking Feng Wu's hand, Feng Sun was shaking a little. He's not thinking straight anymore. He's driven mad by all the killing. Let's go. Hearing Feng Sun's words, the king turned to run. However, he then remembered who Feng Wu was and dragged her to his side. Quickly, let's go to the inner tower now. The only safe place in the world now was Patriarch Huiyan's tower. Feng Wu threw the king's hand off. No, I'm not leaving. I'm going to keep him company. However, Feng Wu couldn't throw him off, which infuriated her. Thump. They heard the sound of something falling to the ground. The others turned around and saw that Jun Linyuan had smashed Wubai to the ground. He then charged at the king. Feng Sun's eyes widened and the king panicked. Shit! What was Jun Linyuan doing? Before he could react, Jun Linyuan rushed over and grabbed him by the neck. The king was astonished. Feng Sun murmured in amazement. Shit. Even when Boss Jun has lost his mind, he's still that jealous. However, Feng Wu couldn't hear Feng Sun anymore, for she was already running toward Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu was exasperated. It didn't matter if Jun Linyuan killed anyone else, even if it was Princess Raoshi. There would still be a way out. However, if he killed the king of Northern Yen, the two sides would have to go to war. As a result, a lot of people would die. The Dongseng Kingdom would be laughing. In fact, in the Dongseng Kingdom, Night Owl was furious and was going to blow up the water curtain when he saw Jun Linyuan choking Wubai. Night Owl's stomach lurched and he looked ecstatic. However, the next second, Jun Linyuan threw Wubai away and grabbed the king by the neck. Night Owl almost jumped to his feet. Chapter 3929. Chapter 3929. Lord Jing. Chapter 3929. Lord Jing. Father, father. Night Owl called his father. However, his father was in seclusion and didn't reply, but someone did. It was Lord Jing, the sworn brother of the Dongseng Kingdom. Because of the Dongseng Kingdom's blood tax system, the king of Dongseng didn't have any brothers. His closest friend was only his sworn brother Lord Jing. Had come to see the crown prince at the invitation of Mr. Sakiya, and he heard the noise, so he walked in right away. The first thing he saw was the water screen. What? Was astonished. Emu, the king of Northern Yen, and had met Jun Linyuan before. He was astonished when he saw this. This can't be happening. Night Owl didn't have time to exchange pleasantries when he saw Lord Jing. He grabbed the latter's arm and said excitedly, "It's true. My lord, it's happening." Lord Jing said, "Has Jun Linyuan lost his mind? That's the king of Northern Yen." Night Owl laughed again. "Yes, he has. As it turned out, Jun Linyuan has a hidden disease. Once he's cornered, the seal on him will be removed and he'll go berserk. He'll kill everyone he sees, no matter who it is." Night Owl pointed at Jun Linyuan and laughed again. He can't recognize the king at all. All he wants to do is kill. He's a killer. But that's the Northern Yan's king. If Jun Linyuan kills the king in front of so many people, the rift between the Northern Yan Kingdom and the Jumwu Empire will never go away. They'll never rest until one of them is destroyed. I bet they can fight for hundreds of years. Was equally excited. Grabbing Night Owl, he said, quickly send Xiao. Northern Yen is going to be in a lot of trouble. Dongseng has so many advantages. Night Owl looked displeased when Xiao was mentioned. Was about to ask when he saw a dead body next to Jun Linyuan. Isn't that? Lord Jing cried out. Night Owl nodded and said solemnly, I've sent Xiao, and he has sacrificed his life for the Dongseng kingdom. However, his death was worthwhile. As long as Northern Yen and Zhenwu fight for 100 years, he'll have a worthy death. Xiao isn't the only one we've lost. Patriarch Sua, our long-term mole in the Zhenwu Empire, is dead as well. Jun Linyuan has completely destroyed the pawns we've kept trained. But don't worry. As long as Northern Yan's king is dead, we'll gain a lot. Has to digest so much information in such a short time. Xiao was dead, Jun Linyuan had gone insane, and Northern Yan's king was going to die. Quickly gathered all the information and nodded. You're right. If Northern Yan's king dies, the Dongseng kingdom will profit greatly. So would Jun Linyuan kill the emperor? Wasn't it obvious? The people of the Northern Yan kingdom and the Dongseng kingdom all thought the same. Jun Linyuan was definitely going to kill him. Because he had lost his mind. Seeing that Jun Linyuan wanted to kill her father, Princess Raoshi was worried sick as well. She wanted to marry Jun Linyuan. If Jun Linyuan killed her father, she and Jun Linyuan would become enemies for the rest of their lives. That couldn't happen. Chapter 3930, Chapter 3930. Jun Linyuan 1. Chapter 3930. Jun Linyuan 1. At that thought, Princess Raoshi rushed to Jun Linyuan's side and pushed Feng Wu away while she was at it. Jun Linyuan, no. You can't kill my father. He's my father. Please, Jun Linyuan, please stop. Please stop for my sake. Princess Raoshi was really crying now. Not only that, but she had also knelt down. Jun Linyuan, who was choking the king, glanced at Princess Raoshi. One look and Princess Raoshi was thrilled. The others were amazed. Could Jun Linyuan and Princess Raoshi really have something going? Were they very close? Otherwise, why would Jun Linyuan pause for a moment? The king was filled with hope as well. He didn't want to die. Jun. Princess Raoshi scrambled to her feet and wanted to run toward Jun Linyuan. She wanted to help Jun Linyuan come back to his senses. However, before Princess Raoshi could get close to Jun Linyuan, an earth-shattering shock wave charged at her. As a matter of fact, Jun Linyuan only flipped his sleeve impatiently, but to Princess Raoshi it was fatal. Watch out! Princess Raoshi's guard blocked her way. The guard was smashed into a pulp. As for Princess Raoshi, she was luckier. The guard pushed her away, and when Jun Linyuan's shock wave reached her, it only pushed her further away. Everyone looked up. Princess Raoshi was flying away like a kite. And she was getting further and further away. She was nowhere to be seen in the end. Gone. Everyone was astonished. Only then did they realize how terrifying Jun Linyuan was. The king didn't even dare to make a sound. Seeing this, the head of the Firmament Palace moved further and further away. She hid behind a wall and waited for her chance. She wanted to run away, because she knew that she couldn't let Jun Linyuan see her now. If he did, he would throttle her. She stayed because the capital of Northern Yen was going to become a killing ground. There would be rivers of blood and dead bodies everywhere. She had a lot of room to maneuver. The Firmament Palace had been secretly siding with the Dongseng Kingdom. As long as she helped the Dongseng Kingdom start a war between the two forces, the Firmament Palace would make a great contribution. But to her surprise, and to everyone's surprise, after Jun Linyuan threw Princess Raoshi away, someone else ran toward Jun Linyuan. And she wrapped her arms around him. She held him tightly from behind. It was Feng Wu. Jun Linyuan was about to throttle the king, when Feng Wu rushed over and threw her arms around Jun Linyuan's waist. Oh God! Feng Sun was exasperated. The eldest prince was worried sick as well. Someone was going to die. She was such a pretty girl. To everyone's astonishment, Jun Linyuan, who had been tense and ready to kill, froze on the spot. The fire in his eyes seemed to have faded a lot. What was going on? Was Jun Linyuan going to stop? No. The old master of the Firmament Palace was the first to scream in her head. No. Night Owl, who was in the Dongseng Kingdom, drew in his breath as well. No. No. He can't stop. Chapter 39-31. Chapter 39-31. Jun Linyuan 2. Chapter 39-31. Jun Linyuan 2. Feng Wu wrapped her arms around Jun Linyuan's waist and said in a trembling voice, Jun Linyuan, it's me. Stop. It's me. She kept talking to Jun Linyuan. The king was the most nervous one. He thought he was going to lose his mind. Jun Linyuan had almost choked him. If Feng Wu had been a little slower, he would have been killed. But now, would Feng Wu's words work? Would Jun Linyuan pause for a moment and try again, like what he did to Raoshi? The king held his breath. Then he saw a slender hand. It showed up right under his nose. To be more precise, she had put her hand over Jun Linyuan's hand, which was on the king's throat. Feng Wu, who had been holding Jun Linyuan from behind, slowly walked around to face him. The king looked at Feng Wu and hoped that she would succeed. He then saw Feng Wu holding Jun Linyuan's hand with hers. Gradually, her fingers reached out and slowly wrapped around Jun Linyuan's fingers. The king almost couldn't breathe. But he still didn't dare to struggle, fearing that Jun Linyuan would be disturbed. Jun Linyuan looked like he was going to explode at any moment. Feng Wu was trying to calm him down, as if she was dealing with a giant beast that could go berserk at any moment. As Feng Wu moved, she kept her gaze on Jun Linyuan. She spoke softly as if she was comforting a baby. Then, the king noticed that the fire in Jun Linyuan's eyes was gradually going out. Then, with a thump, he was tossed aside by Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan didn't use much force. All his attention was on Feng Wu. He kept his unblinking gaze on Feng Wu and caught all her attention. After the king was thrown to the ground, he forgot about the pain. Rising to his feet, he quickly ran out of the circle. Gosh, he almost peed his pants. He wiped away the cold sweat on the back of his neck. Your Majesty. His guards stepped forward. The king silenced them with a wave of his hand, telling them not to disturb Jun Linyuan. What if he went berserk again? The king also gave the order, telling everyone to back off. Even Feng Xin was dragged away. The king glanced at Feng Xin. What's going on with your crown prince? Did he feel humiliated because Jun Linyuan had almost strangled him? According to the king's understanding, even a spiritual saint had been torn in half, but he was still able to come out of it alive. He was so lucky, and luck was part of one's capability. As a matter of fact, the king was intimidated by Jun Linyuan's capability. He didn't dare to hold Jun Linyuan responsible for what he did. If Jun Linyuan went berserk again and killed another spiritual saint with bare hands, how many spiritual saints would Northern Yen have left? Yes, they did have Patriarch Huyen, who could fight Jun Linyuan, and had a high chance of winning. But the problem was that Patriarch Huyen doted on Feng Wu, not to mention that Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan were a couple. The king didn't know who the Patriarch would help if he and Jun Linyuan got into a fight. Chapter 39-32. Chapter 39-32. Only you can do it, 1. Chapter 39-32. Only you can do it, 1. It's me, Junjun. It's me. Feng Wu threw herself into Jun Linyuan's arms and whispered in his ear. The fire in the teenager's eyes gradually died down. He seemed to have regained his senses. He caressed her face. Are you all right? Feng Wu nodded with tears in her eyes. I'm fine. I'm fine. The old master of the Firmament Palace was furious. Jun Linyuan seemed normal now. If he didn't lose his mind, he would. The old master looked at the dead bodies on the ground. They weren't just any dead bodies. They were all famous spiritual saints. At that thought, she had no choice but to draw in her breath and fight back her rage. The Dongseng Kingdom. Night Owl was furious when he saw Jun Linyuan caressing Feng Wu's cheek. Thump! He jumped up, and the water curtain splashed all over the ground. Lord Jing looked sorry as well. Why did things turn around in the end? Who's that girl? Why is she so influential to Jun Linyuan? Is she? My lord, please leave. Night Owl had to fight back his anger with all his effort. His voice was very soft, but he was furious. Seeing this, Lord Jing opened his mouth, but didn't say anything in the end. He patted Night Owl on the shoulder, shook his head and left. Night Owl turned to look at the manual that the mysterious person in black. To master the skill, one had to first. Time was running out. In 2 hours, the manual would self-destruct. Meanwhile, everyone in the Northern Yin Kingdom watched this in silence. Even Princess Raoshi, who had been kicked away, hobbled back and watched this. Jun Linyuan's cold eyes were twinkling as he stared at Feng Wu. He stood ramrod straight, and his eyes were as bright as stars. He looked very serious, as if he was making an oath. I kept my promise. He promised that he would protect her for the rest of his life, and he didn't go back on his word. The girl nodded repeatedly with tears in her eyes. Yes, you did. You've protected me well. Very well. It was just that it had cost him a lot. Seeing all the blood on Jun Linyuan, Feng Wu felt so sorry for him. Jun Linyuan beamed at her. His smile reminded her of dark clouds dissipating, and the sky was clear and blue. Feng Wu was about to tell him that she liked him a lot. However, before she could say that, Jun Linyuan swayed and fell into Feng Wu's arms. Jun Linyuan? Jun Linyuan? Feng Wu wrapped her arms around him and cried out, but Jun Linyuan didn't reply. Feng Sun and the others all ran in her direction. However, the master of the Firmament Palace, who was hiding behind the wall, narrowed her eyes. Jun Linyuan had fainted? Didn't that mean that Jun Linyuan was so weak now that she could do whatever she wanted to Feng Wu? The master of the Firmament Palace was over the moon. She would be so lucky if she could kill Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu now. She was about to charge out when she stopped. But what if Jun Linyuan was faking it? Feng Wu couldn't be more cunning. Chapter 39-33. Chapter 39-33. Only you can do it too. Chapter 39-33. Only you can do it too. Feng Wu couldn't be more cunning. The head of the Firmament Palace hesitated. When she finally made up her mind to charge out and kill Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan with a great destruction spell, all of a sudden, a figure landed from above. The head of the Firmament Palace froze on the spot when he saw who it was. She didn't dare to activate the skill anymore. Instead, she turned around and ran off. The person who scared her off was none other than Patriarch Huyan himself. He looked around and frowned. Those who were close to Feng Wu didn't think much of it when they saw the arrival of Patriarch Huyan. But those who didn't know the relationship between Feng Wu and him were terrified. Especially the onlookers thousands of meters away. They all dropped to their knees and didn't dare to move. It was a sign of respect for the Patriarch. To them, Patriarch Huyan was the pillar of the Northern Yin Kingdom. He was even more prestigious than their king, and couldn't be offended. Patriarch Huyan glanced at the crowd, and everyone dropped to their knees. Even Feng Sun dropped to his knees and lowered his head. It was obvious that Patriarch Huyan was displeased. The king was on his knees, so why should Feng Wu be standing? Feng Sun was secretly alarmed. He couldn't afford to be careless. He had only been able to stay in the tower because of Xiao Wu. Without Xiao Wu, he would be nothing in front of Patriarch Huyan. Feng Wu was the only one who wasn't intimidated. Feng Wu was so anxious that she almost called him sixth senior brother. However, recalling what her sixth senior brother had told her, Feng Wu decided not to address him that way. According to her sixth senior brother, there were powerful enemies lurking in the dark. At that thought, Feng Wu said to Patriarch Huyan, "Please help me." Luckily, only a handful of people were close enough, such as Feng Sun, the eldest prince, and the king of the Northern Yin Kingdom. Anyone else would have been astonished by Feng Wu's tone. Seeing the blood on Feng Wu's face, Patriarch Huyan grew anxious. Feng Wu said, "Please help us." Patriarch Huyan nodded, and took Feng Wu back to the tower. Holding Jun Linyuan in her arms, Feng Wu took him back to her room as soon as she landed, leaving Patriarch Huyen behind. Patriarch Huyen was speechless. He was a little frustrated when he saw Feng Wu run off. Meanwhile, Feng Sun grabbed the eagle, who was about to fly away. "Brother! Eagle, please take me with you." The giant eagle didn't want to, but Feng Sun was hanging on its wing and wouldn't come off, for without the eagle, Feng Sun wouldn't be able to get in. The giant eagle stared at Feng Sun in resignation. "How am I supposed to fly when you're holding my wings? Hold my legs." The bird was a spiritual saint now. Feng Sun said, "Sure." In the tower, Feng Wu almost burst into tears when she cut open Jun Lingyuan's black robe. His lean, fair body was covered with wounds, some old and some new. There were a few cuts so deep that she could see the bones. Feng Wu felt a lump in her throat. Taking a deep breath, she fought back her emotions and began to treat Jun Linyuan. However, internal injuries weren't as easy to treat as external ones. Chapter 39-34, Chapter 39-34. Only you can do it 3. Chapter 39-34. Only you can do it 3. Jun Linyuan still wouldn't wake up after 3 days. Feng Wu grew anxious and went to see Patriarch Huyen. Feng Wu knocked on the door. Patriarch Huyen was cultivating when he heard the knock on the door. He raised his chin proudly. Knock, knock, knock. There was another knock on the door. Patriarch Huyen deliberately kept a straight face and said in a low voice, "Enter." Feng Wu pushed the door open and walked in to find Patriarch Huyen cultivating with his legs crossed and his eyes closed, looking very haughty. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She slowly walked up to him and sat down in front of him. However, the old man only cared about his own cultivation and ignored her. Feng Wu didn't know what she had done to offend her 6th senior brother, but she kept her gaze on him. The patriarch went on cultivating with his legs crossed. Feng Wu tugged at his sleeve. Patriarch Huyen didn't reply. Hence, Feng Wu moved closer and tugged at his sleeve again. 6th senior brother? 6th senior brother? Only then did Patriarch Huyen open his eyes a little. He glanced at Feng Wu, then closed them again. Feng Wu almost laughed. Why was her 6th senior brother so adorable? 6th brother, please help me. Feng Wu wouldn't let him off the hook. She sat down next to him. Seeing that his eyes were closed, she tugged at his white beard. Cough, cough. The most capable man in Northern Yin Kingdom finally opened his eyes. He glanced at Feng Wu and snorted. Feng Wu sighed in resignation. 6th senior brother, what did I do? Did I upset you? The old man said, Of course you didn't. You did a great job. Listen to that. Of course, he was upset about something. Feng Wu couldn't for the life of her figure out what had upset him, so she had to take his arm. Please don't be mad. Please don't be mad at me. I'm so sad. Feng Wu gave him a I'm pitiful, weak and helpless look. She knew how to do that. It just so happened that Patriarch Huyen hadn't been close to anyone in years, and he couldn't resist Feng Wu. His heart softened right away, and he mumbled grumpily, You don't need me anymore now that you have a boyfriend. Feng Wu couldn't help but burst out laughing. The patriarch couldn't believe that she was laughing. Of course I need you. You're my favorite senior brother. Feng Wu said without hesitation. He was the only senior brother she knew, so she didn't feel any pressure. Patriarch Huyen was thrilled. Back then, they had all raised their little junior sister together. All the senior brothers had teased the girl with all kinds of gifts, making her say that one of them was her favorite senior brother. The girl had been very stubborn and wouldn't say anything. But now, he was indeed the best senior brother to his junior sister. At the thought of how he had outshone all his senior brothers, Patriarch Huyen chuckled inwardly and was very pleased. Feng Wu knew that her words had worked. Let's go. Come with me. Jun Linyuan is so badly injured that you're the only one who can treat him. Feng Wu dragged her senior brother away. Chapter 39-35. Chapter 39-35. Save him one. Chapter 39-35. Save him one. Patriarch Huyan liked Jun Linyuan a little better than before. After all, he was his junior sister's favorite senior brother. And he had won the bet. He followed Feng Wu to see Jun Linyuan. He's suffering from a severe internal injury, said Patriarch Huyan. Feng Wu looked at him and nodded. Yes, that's right. Of course. She knew that Jun Linyuan had suffered from an internal injury. She had wrapped up all his external wounds, but his internal injury. Feng Wu could sense that Jun Linyuan's soul felt like a candle that was going to extinguish. She was worried that once the flame was extinguished he would. Patriarch Huyan frowned and said, that internal injury isn't easy to treat. Tugging at his sleeve, Feng Wu pleaded with her eyes. Patriarch Huyan frowned. Feng Wu knew what he was worried about. Her pills alone wouldn't be enough to treat Jun Linyuan's internal injury. A capable cultivator had to inject their spiritual essence into Jun Linyuan's dantian. And that person had to be very capable. Feng Wu looked expectantly at the patriarch with twinkling eyes. Patriarch Huyan hesitated. For he himself was stuck at the breakthrough threshold. Spiritual essence could be recovered after consumption. But Jun Linyuan was a teenager, and who knew how much he could absorb? Patriarch Huyan stroked his beard and murmured, the more talented he is, the more spiritual essence he can absorb. He glanced at Feng Wu. Feng Wu immediately put on a sympathetic look and nodded obsequiously. Seeing that his junior sister understood him so well, Patriarch Huyan felt much better. He mumbled again. It's not easy for me to accumulate spiritual essence. I'm about to make a breakthrough. He didn't want to give away so much of his spiritual essence. Feng Wu pouted and looked very pitiful. Seeing that the girl wanted to say something, but didn't want to upset him, Patriarch Huyan felt sorry for her. He rubbed her head. Do you really want me to treat him? Feng Wu didn't know what to do either. Her senior brother was on the verge of a breakthrough, and Jun Linyuan's fate was hanging in the balance. Feng Wu began to waver. Gradually, she began to take Jun Linyuan's side. Sixth senior brother. The girl pursed her lips and stroked his beard. You've waited so long for this breakthrough. Of course it's more important than anything else. As for Jun Linyuan, he can just... Gosh. Of course he wouldn't let that happen. However, from what his junior sister said just then, Patriarch Huyan was convinced that he was the most important person to her. Seeing that he still hadn't made up his mind, Feng Wu added, when I see my beautiful master one day, I'll tell him that my sixth brother treats me very well. Patriarch Huyan shuddered at the mention of his master. That was right. When she talked to their master about it later, was she going to say that he wouldn't help her fiancé? Gosh. Of course I'll help him. If his junior sister lost her love forever, and cried in bed all by herself, he would blame himself even if his fellow senior brothers didn't beat him up. Guard the door. Don't let anyone in. Chapter 39-36, Chapter 39-36, Save him too. Chapter 39-36, Save him too. Guard the door and don't let anyone in, said Patriarch Huyan. Feng Wu quickly ran out of the room. After some thought, Patriarch Huyan waved his hand. No one's coming here anyway. Forget about it. Fix this lousy sword. It's connected to him spiritually. If it's not fixed, I'm afraid his internal injury won't recover either. Feng Wu took the sky destroyer with both hands and carefully held it in her arms. The sword was indeed in tatters. The blade was covered with cracks and the tip was broken. Feng Wu wanted to stay and see how Patriarch Huyan would treat Jun Linyuan, but he wouldn't let her. With a wave of his hand he sent Feng Wu away. Feng Wu was worried, but with Patriarch Huyan here, Jun Linyuan should be all right. She let out a breath of relief and decided to repair the sword first. In Patriarch Huyan's refinery, Feng Wu stared at Sky Destroyer in a daze. The sword had been with Jun Linyuan for a very long time. Although Jun Linyuan had been making rapid progress, it was obvious that Sky Destroyer couldn't keep up with his cultivation level. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been damaged this time. Holding Sky Destroyer, Feng Wu racked her brain, trying to remember everything she knew about forging weapons. Her eyes lit up all of a sudden. She remembered that her master had told her to memorize the semi-divine weapon refinement manual. It would be great if she could forge Sky Destroyer into a semi-divine weapon and make it a growth-type one. But she needed some divine iron. Wait, Feng Wu looked around and saw that it was indeed the Patriarch's refinery. Not only was there divine iron, there were 3 chunks of them. Moreover, each of them had denser energy than the next. Feng Wu was conflicted. She ran out of the room, wanting to ask Patriarch Huyan, but the door was tightly shut, and she had no idea what stage the treatment had reached. If she disturbed the Patriarch and Jun Linyuan, she would be in a lot of trouble. Feng Wu ran back to the refinery. Taking it without asking was stealing. Although it belonged to her 6th senior brother, she couldn't just take it. Do I have anything that my 6th senior brother needs? Feng Wu smacked her head. Her 6th senior brother didn't seem to know the manual she had just recited. She would trade it with him. Feng Wu took out a pen and ink and started writing. She then sealed the sheets of paper in an envelope and put them under the divine iron. After that, she took the one with the highest concentration of energy and started repairing Sky Destroyer. Time went by. Feng Wu had lost track of time when she was forging Sky Destroyer. In the end, the sword was so fired up that it seemed to set the entire refinery on fire. Blood was needed. As the owner of Sky Destroyer, Jun Linyuan had the best blood. Feng Wu ran out again, but the door was still closed, and no one knew what was going on inside. Feng Wu was worried. Was something wrong? She wanted to push the door open, but it was sealed by the Patriarch, and she couldn't get in. The Sky Destroyer made a loud noise behind her. Feng Wu was worried sick. Forget it. Since she didn't have Jun Linyuan's blood, she would use hers for now. One was the divine dragon phoenix blood, and the other one was the true phoenix blood. That should be enough, right? Feng Wu thought to herself. However, when Feng Wu dripped her own blood on Sky Destroyer, the sword suddenly stopped moving, as if someone had just smacked it. Even the flames on it seemed to have extinguished. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.